Texas Longhorns.
Pat Combs. This is a fun matchup in the sense that UCLA had more players drafted last year than anybody else, Pat, but they've rebuilt with a strong recruiting class.
They have. John Savage and the UCLA Bruins, just a roster that totally overturned, but boy, have they done a great job. The number one recruiting class from last season, including 4 of the top 8 freshmen in the country, led by Cody Schreier, the shortstop for the Bruins, who's off to a hot start, having a great tournament here in Houston.
Now let's switch gears to the Texas Longhorns. We started this weekend talking about Texas and their tremendous pitching. Here we are 2 days later. We could be here 2 months later. We'll still be talking about their fabulous pitching. It's been fun to watch.
Well, it really has. You're talking about the top college pitching tandem in all of college baseball, but Brett, it could be historical here. I mean, you're talking a .73 earned run average, averaging over a strikeout per inning. And the Houston sophomore, Tanner Witt, just to follow in the footsteps of Tristan Stevens, who threw a tremendous game last night against LSU. And Pete Hansen. Boy, this staff is built for success, and they are showing it early on.
It's the Texas Longhorns and the UCLA Bruins. We'll have our starting lineups. Our first pitch straight ahead from Minute Maid Park.
Step up to the plate and join the official kids club of the Houston Astros, presented by HEB. Children 12 and under will receive 4 tickets to a select Astros game, a jersey, drawstring bag, a hat, and lanyard, as well as the opportunity to be selected for exclusive events during the year. All for only $30. You can become a Buddies member today by visiting astros.com/buddies. Big moments. The best fans. Feel the excitement and don't miss a moment. Astros 2022 season tickets are on sale now. Astros.com/season tickets.
Spring training is back in the Palm Beaches this spring. Experience Astros baseball, plus the best beaches, dining, and entertainment after the game. There's nothing better than Astros spring ball in sunny Florida. For tickets and more, visit astros.com/spring to book your trip. Plan your visit now to the spring training home of the Houston Astros, the Palm Beaches.
Here's the starting lineup for the UCLA Bruins, brought to you by Las Vegas. Oyama will lead off, then it's Palmer and Schreier. Kiriali Reyes is the DH. Carson Yates will be in right field. Ethan Gorsuch at second. Malachi Knight will bat 8th. And Darius Perry will catch and bat 9th. There is also a bit of a change for the Texas Longhorns. UCLA might not mind, but it is not Witt who's going to make the start today. Rather, it's a left-hander, Lucas Gordon, Pat, who will take the hill at Minute Maid.
Yeah, it should be a fun matchup for Gordon. He is a left-handed pitcher from Los Angeles, so facing his hometown team, Bruins. But Notre Dame High School, 6'1", 193, but made a big jump in maturity. Came to Texas last year as a freshman, did not fare well, but he has made some massive improvements, and the stat line certainly shows it. He is off to a tremendous start, as you can see. 8 innings, has not given up an earned run. 5 Ks, 1 walk. So Lucas Gordon in place of the late scratch, Tanner Witt, who I'm sure is very disappointed not being able to pitch in his hometown.
Probably the only people not disappointed are those wearing blue uniforms today. Only because they knew the scouting report on Witt. Meanwhile, see what they get out of Lucas Gordon, again out of Notre Dame High School in LA. Kenny Oyama is going to lead off. Diminutive leadoff hitter, chops one up the first base side. That's a foul ball. Melendez grabbed it quickly just in case. Played indoor baseball here at Minute Maid Park. Game 8 of 9 in the Shriners Children's College Classic.
I think Gordon fits the mold of that crafty left-hander. He'll be upper 80s with the fastball. Good run with that pitch.
Mr. Roller to Faltini. Take care of the speedy leadoff hitter. Retires Oyama to begin the top of the first.
There's the fastball. Starts out off the plate. Comes back towards the outer part. Oyama with the routine hopper to Trey Faltini, flashing a great arm across the diamond.
Jake Palmer, the first baseman, has 6 hits and 37 at-bats. And our plate umpire here in Game 2, Seth Buckminster. Good look at Jake Palmer. He's staring down that bat. Lucas Gordon, though, last year did pitch 21 2/3 innings of work, and opponents hit only 197 against him. You might think he would know a few of these guys, these California natives in the Bruins lineup, may have played with or against them, some different teams over the summer and such.
No doubt at all. It's a lineup and a roster from John Savage that he likes to win his backyard there in LA. Look down this roster, quite a few players from the Los Angeles area, I'm sure, have seen Gordon before.
Big chopper up the middle. Staley waits for the hop. Able to throw out Palmer. It's one of the changes today for Texas. We don't see Daly at second. Murphy Staley able to make that play. Now with 2 outs, here's Cody Schreier. Pair of home runs this year for Schreier and a .310 average.
Yeah, he really is an elite defensive shortstop, but he has been swinging the bat well.
Faltini so smooth at short, throwing on the run in time. 3 ground ball outs for Lucas Gordon making the start today. And the Longhorns off to a good beginning.
There we go. One more. 1, 2, 1. There we go. One more. That's all you got. 1, 2. There we go. Nice swing. You got it. You got it. All right.
If I could be you and you could be me for just 1 hour, if we could find a way to get inside each other's minds, if you could see you through my eyes instead of your ego, I believe you'd be surprised to see that you've been blind. Walk a mile in my shoes. Walk a mile in my shoes. Yeah, before you abuse, criticize and accuse. Walk a mile in my shoes. Walk a mile in my shoes. Well, before you abuse, criticize and accuse. Walk a mile in my shoes.
Take your favorite teams with you with the brand new AT&T Sportsnet mobile app. Just download the free app from iTunes or Google Play, log in with your TV provider account info, and you're all set. Don't wait. Download the new and improved AT&T Sportsnet mobile app today.
Here's your starting lineup for the #1 ranked Texas Longhorns, brought to you by Texas Crown Club Whiskey. Douglas Soto III had a huge homer last night against LSU. Then it's Eric Kennedy, Ivan Melendez, and Silas Ardoin. He's the DH, though, this afternoon. Todd in right, Staley at second, Messenger back at third. Faltini, of course, at short. Kimball Schuessler will catch and bat ninth. On the hill today for the Bruins, right-hander Kelly Austin.
Yeah, Austin finished up his warm-up pitches, and the 6-foot, 195-pound sophomore transfer from yet another Orange Coast College player.
The same thing.
It's amazing. Yep, has been spotless to start the 22 season. You see the stats there, 12 innings, nothing given up. I love that strikeout to walk ratio at 12-1, opposing hitters only 128. No record yet, but he is just a really polished pitcher. Got great mound presence, pounds the strike zone, and had a tremendous summer, Brett. West Coast Summer League. How about 83 punch-outs and 63 innings, only 8 walks.
One heck of a ratio. Douglas Hodo III steps in to lead things off for the Longhorns. Shows bunt, takes one outside. Hodo had the 3-run homer early yesterday. Gave Texas a 4-0 lead against LSU in front of that crowd of nearly 25,000. Later walked and scored and also singled in the course of his night, so his average of 347. And Kelly Austin, you mentioned his overall numbers. When you've had 2 starts and they're both 6 innings, no runs, 0 walks, 8 strikeouts, 1 walk, 4 strikeouts. You see Riverside was the last opponent he faced. I would say that qualifies as getting off to a good beginning in 2022.
How about Hodo's swing in that second inning? That you talk about trying to take a crowd out early in a game, and that's exactly what Hodo did last night with that home run. We talked about the big crowd last night, close to 25,000 fans here at Minute Maid, and I think there was a few more LSU folks in the stands than with Burnt Orange, and boy, did they stay quiet for a long time.
May have been the case. The reaction from the crowd, though, after that home run, it had a big league sound to it playing indoors last night. There was a roar that you don't often get at college games. Check swing, a quick appeal. Doug Williams at first says no. And the count 2-2.
Yeah, tough pitch by Austin, and break the ball down to the zone. Hodo able to hold up.
Austin's pitch has popped up. A lot of room to run here. Yates was right on that chalk. That was a fair ball catch, but Hodo retired for the first out in the Longhorn first inning.
For John Savage and UCLA, look back at last year's rotation of Petway, Bergen, and Mullen, all gone. And his 2 most relievers, Townsend and Chaldes, gone as well. And unbelievable rebuild of his staff, and boy, it opened up a lot of opportunities for guys like Kelly Austin, who now has pitched well enough to get himself into this weekend rotation.
Here's Eric Kennedy, his batting average at .412 in 34 at bats. I think what's unique though about Kelly Austin, and it's probably worth repeating, we started this broadcast talking about UCLA having 10 players drafted, the #1 recruiting class coming in. Kelly Austin, out of the junior college ranks, just the 4th junior college transfer to start a weekend game for UCLA under John Savage, and the first since 2007. They just don't bring him in.
Man,
they develop.
That's a great point, Brett, and that's really what Savage is known for. He loves to develop young players, and he'll plug and play a tad with some grad transfers. You see at the top of his lineup, you have Oyama and Palmer, but the rest of these guys homegrown. He brings them in. He likes to hold them for 3 or 4 years, and of course, he takes great pride in developing guys to get to the next level. Certainly you saw that last year in the draft. 10 players drafted off that Bruin roster.
With that comes maybe a bit of a learning curve, or maybe some expectations in which you can't assume these guys have the experience of a 21, 22, 23-year-old transfer. But it's almost like a team that would only draft top-tier high school players rather than college kids. They believe they have longer with them and can shape these players into the mold they prefer.
That's right, and that's a coach who takes great pride in his culture as well. He wants to get players into his program that obviously are a great culture fit. Good look at John Savage in the dugout. But he also likes to have that influence. It's creating that whole player, not just on the field, off the field, in the classroom, but Coach Savage and his staff take great pride in that, and they've done a wonderful job. 18th season now with the Bruins.
National championship winning coach on top of that. Swing and a miss. Kennedy down on strikes. Kelly Austin's retired the first 2 that he's faced.
You talk about Austin's stuff not being overpowering, but that fastball late sink to it.
Kennedy missed that by a foot.
He sure did. It was quite a bit over the top of that ball, and again, that late snap down into the zone. That's what makes Austin A great pitcher, plus the fact he just is going to force an offense to earn their way on. Not a lot of freebies coming from Kelly Austin.
Ivan Melendez takes a strike. And another aspect about UCLA and their starters, you mentioned the guys that are no longer here, that have since moved on, and the rarity that it is to have a junior college transfer starting. They're missing Jared Karros, a pitcher. Not healthy yet. Yes, he's the son of Eric Karros, who has a couple of kids on this team.
That's right.
See Mark McGuire's son today, and Phil Nevin's son, and the Karros boys as well, part of this Bruins roster. You see the numbers for Melendez with those 2 home runs. Melendez doubled in 4 at-bats yesterday, and he missed that by 2 feet. How about Kelly Austin?
Man, what a start for Austin. Well, picking up where he left off in his previous 2 starts, he is filling the bill. Scoreless inning.
Nerds. Hey, we got to get you geared up, superfan.
Game on. Let's compare here to there. Compare credit cards to find one that earns you cash back on jerseys that fuel the fandom. Compare and find a financial advisor so you can spend less time watching your investments and more time investing in your team.
Hit me. Oh!
Compare your way there. Find the smartest financial products for you on NerdWallet.
Step up to the plate and join the official kids club of the Houston Astros, presented by HEB. Children 12 and under will receive 4 tickets to a select Astros game, a jersey, drawstring bag, a hat, and lanyard, as well as the opportunity to be selected for exclusive events during the year. All for only $30. You can become a Buddies member today by visiting astros.com/buddies. Big moments. The best fans. Feel the excitement and don't miss a moment. Astros 2022 season tickets are on sale now. Astros.com/season tickets.
Coverage of the Shriners Children's College Classic is brought to you by Local IQ, simplifying marketing to reach local customers. Brett Dolan, Pack Holmes here at Minute Maid in downtown Houston. Indoor baseball today. The Bruins and the Longhorns, 1 perfect inning in the books. And Lucas Gordon, pitching rather than Witt today, is ready to face Kiriali, Reyes, and Yates. And UCLA so far in the Classic, they lost a tough one Friday morning, a 2-1 game to Baylor. They had them loaded up in the 9th inning, scored a run, but fell a run short. And they took it out on Oklahoma yesterday, a 15-3 run rule victory in 7 innings. And the Bruins scored their runs in 6.
They sure did. It was an explosion, and took advantage of some freebies along the way, but the bats certainly came around yesterday. And go back to that the very first hit of the game. What Kenny Oyama did, fouled off about 5 or 6 pitches, Brett, really took that count deep, then got the base hit. That really kind of served as the engine revving up for that UCLA offense yesterday.
How about the game, though, yesterday for Kiriali, who bats cleanup? In that 15-3 win, he was 0 for 1, and he scored 3 runs. He's on base with a couple of walks.
Part of those freebies we were talking about.
Yeah.
So far, Lucas Gordon looking sharp in the zone as well. Just missed with that fastball in. Very similar styles when you look at the way Gordon and Austin are going at it. Fastballs that sink down and in. That 4-seam variety going inside on Kiriali. Doesn't get the call.
Looked pretty good. Chop it to third. Nice hop from Messenger from the infield grass. Throws out Kiriali. That's 4 batters, 4 ground ball outs for Lucas Gordon.
Yeah, that's his MO. That sinking fastball, pretty difficult to square up. And when he's got it down in the zone, you see that great arm side movement to it. Well, Gordon getting the start instead of what we expected, Tanner Witt. And we were informed it was a late scratch We're told precautionary, nothing serious, but just giving him some extra days of rest.
You know, he was probably looking forward to pitching here, of course, in his hometown. It is a long season, however, though.
Yeah, you can only imagine. He had that date circled on his calendar for sure. I'm sure a lot of family and friends were showing up from
Episcopal High School product. Tanner Witt. Another one lifted in the air down the line and right. Chasing is Todd. Oh my goodness, he made the catch. Contending with the net. He didn't bother to slow down. He made the play, and that's a great effort.
Yeah, and Austin Todd came a long way as well, and we had the Jets on and had to negotiate the net, the wall, the railing.
The net will catch you. The only question is, will you get all tangled up?
Bust your leg on the padding there, but yeah, nicely done by Todd. And of course, a veteran right fielder for University of Texas. It just feels like he's been here forever. Hadn't lost a step.
There's Carson Yates. How about this guy's game yesterday against Oklahoma?
Man, how about the tournament he's put together?
It's 6 runs batted in on a couple of hits, including a home run yesterday. Also had a home run of the pinch hit variety on Friday.
Yeah, at one point he had 2 swings, 2 bombs. Well, that's how you get yourself in the lineup every day.
San Jose, California native, 13 at bats on the year. Making the most of this opportunity.
First time Lucas Gordon's been up in the zone, missing on 3 straight fastballs.
He pumps in a strike. There's no mistaking when you see that uniform, you know it's the Texas Longhorns. And there's no mistake when you see the blue, you recognize that's the Brewers.
That's no doubt. There's the old classics. Classic tops today. You'll love to see that. Yeah, that fastball pumped up and in by Gordon. Just blew it right by Carson Yates, who was sitting on a fastball. That doesn't happen very often.
From 3-0 to 3-2. This one will go over the net, and even Todd can't make this play. Not a play.
Between Austin Todd and Eric Kennedy, manning right and left, then Douglas Hodo in center. Those Texas outfielders can cover a lot of ground.
This one's hit well to right center. Todd gliding back just shy of the track. He'll make the catch, and that's another perfect inning for Lucas Gordon. 6 up, 6 down in the spot start today.
Watch me pirouette with style and grace.
Watch me roam, discover, explore.
I feel pretty. I must be a star. They helped me come a long way. I'll show you how far. Watch me.
For 100 years, we've watched in awe as our commitment to transformative care continues to bring positive change to kids everywhere. Today, our brand is evolving too. Shriners Children's, the most amazing care anywhere.
Watch me. Here I stand on my own 2 feet. Jump shot intact, here to compete. Skilled hands were there to mend the bone. From loving halls that brought me home. My world stopped with a drive through the lane. Now give me the ball. You'll remember my name. Watch me. Orthopedic excellence at Shriners Children's. The most amazing care anywhere.
I don't think I can do this.
You said you wanted to feel the power of Cricket 5G.
I thought you meant like live streaming.
Oh, we're live streaming, all right. Let's roll. Smile, you're on Cricket.
Off and rolling here in game 2 Third and final day, the Shriners Children's College Classic from Minute Maid. The #1 ranked and undefeated Texas Longhorns got a couple of wins so far, and I'd say impressive ones at that. They defeated Tennessee 7-2, took down LSU last night 6-1. It'll be Ardoin, Todd, and Staley in the second against Kelly Austin. Newport Beach, California native. And he misses to Ardoin, who's listed as the DH, of course, today, not behind the plate. Schussler doing his duties.
Yeah, well-deserved day off here for Ardoin. But Coach Pierce keeping him in the lineup to hit. Just tells you some improvements there by Ardoin, just becoming a much more consistent hitter. First couple of seasons at Texas had quite a bit of swing and miss in the swing, but he started off well this season.
Now back to the right, not a play. Maybe no surprise when you look at Kelly Austin. Guy's from a town that has beach in the name. He's a surfer.
There you go. Newport Beach. Yeah. Doesn't have the surfer hair, though.
Not yet. Spikes that in the dirt, knocked down by Perry.
And the breaking ball's been a little off and on here. First inning and into the second, but that fastball down in the zone with the sink to it has been really effective.
Same pitch. Ardoin doubled and scored in 4 at-bats yesterday in that win against LSU, and he's got himself a base hit here. Well to the left of second base, but Schreier was playing him to pull, and Ardoin will take the single.
Well, probably the first mistake that Kelly Austin's made up in the zone, and Ardoin sitting on that 3-2 fastball delivery and gets the leadoff single for Texas.
Here's Austin Todd. He's still looking for his first home run of the year. 7 runs knocked in. We didn't see Todd last night. It was Dylan Campbell played out in right. Todd went 0 for 4 but struck out 3 times against Tennessee on Friday. Got a bunt. Really one play, that's first. Todd is retired as Ardoin able to advance to second.
And you heard Darius Perry, the catcher for the Bruins, pop out yelling 2. Felt like they had a shot to get Ardoin at second base, but Austin takes the more sure out at first. So the sac bunt by Todd is successful, and how about that? Coach David Pierce down up that sac bunt early here in the second inning.
Well, Todd's coming back from a shoulder injury last year. It might be just part of the process, just getting his feet underneath him over the course of this first month or so. Murphy Staley did more than that, though, last night. He turned on a pitch in the 8th inning and lofted one into the Crawford boxes for a home run, his first of the year. So this is a California native, a Carlsbad kid playing against the Bruins. You got Lucas Gordon pitching. He's an LA guy, also going up against UCLA.
Yeah, Murphy Staley made some great leaps this past offseason as well. Had a tremendous fall. He started driving the ball early spring, continued where he left off, and got a lot of versatility. Does Staley? Sure can move him around, and he's kind of like that plug-and-play guy. When he's hitting, you keep him in the lineup. You can play him in multiple positions, and gives David Pierce a lot of options.
Here's Austin's 1-1. Pitch well off the plate. These teams haven't met that often over the years. 12 times. This the 13th. Texas leads the all-time series 8-4. They met in a regional in Long Beach in 2017. And Texas was a run better, 3-2.
It's always fun when these colleges get together. We talk about the different styles of baseball, but the Texas teams, the California teams always take great pride in trying to beat each other. Just it was kind of one of those state things, you know.
And regional, and I think that's a good point. You know, you start to think about the different styles, which of course is part of the storyline because Augie Garrido was a West Coast guy that had so much success at Texas.
That's right. And Augie brought that style to Texas, and it really worked well. You know, he liked to play small ball, and he was very situational in terms of his strategy, and that gets Staley swinging a miss on the breaking pitch.
Third strikeout for Kelly Austin. Bet we're going to see a lot of movement tailing away from this righty.
And there's a slider, just really hard to pick up from the hand of Kelly Austin, and Staley shows you why.
Skylar Messenger. That's well placed on the outside corner for a strike. Messenger 0 for 4 last night. 1 for 8 with a single and an RBI in the Classic. But a chance to pick up Ardoin here and put the Longhorns in front. And with this pitching staff, anytime Texas can build an early lead, a run or two here or there, just certainly tilts the game in their favor. Check swing flare is foul.
Certainly does. Puts a lot of pressure on the opposing offense, and you know, it also alters kind of the strategy from the opposition as well. And you got to think, John Savage, if UCLA can generate something early, they're going to play some small ball, thinking this could be a low-scoring game. So it changes your approach coming into a game when you face a Texas pitching staff.
Two quick strikes on Messenger. Austin gets the wave and a miss. That's 4 strikeouts over 2 scoreless innings.
Well, Kelly Austin's been outstanding. Great start here for the Bruins, matching the zeros that Texas is throwing up there.
There we go. One more. 1, 2, 1. There we go. One more. That's all you got. 1, 2. There we go. Nice swing. You got it. You got it. All right.
I want to beat cancer. I'm going to beat it. That's no doubt in my mind. I'm going to win this battle.
Defeating cancer will take all of us. Join our team to help fund game-changing research that saves lives. At the V Foundation, V is for victory over cancer. V is for victory over the odds. V is for victory over health disparities. Victory over setbacks. Victory over the unknown. V is for victory over giving up.
Don't give up. Don't ever give up.
Join our team to help save lives.
Cancer can take away all my physical abilities. It cannot touch my mind, it cannot touch my heart, and it cannot touch my soul.
100% of donations fund game-changing cancer research. Donate now at V.org.
Hey, I'm Matt Adams, host of the Fairways of Life show, and you can catch us every week right here on AT&T Sportsnet. Long-form interviews with legends of the game and today's stars. If it happens in golf, we'll take you inside of the ropes right here on the Fairways of Life show.
UCLA and Texas, a 0-0 game as we get to the top of the third inning, and we're going to be joined by Patrick Lindsey, the executive director of the Shriners Children Open, and Pat has been talking for years. He's been angling. He's been trying to work a way to get out to that golf tournament. I think we found the man that might be able to help out.
The golden ticket.
That's right. You guys have been asking the wrong guys, I guess.
That's clearly it.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. Yeah,
that's the story of our life. We're talking to the wrong people. So here we are, 8 games in. We found the right guy.
That's right. Well, probably multiple years in, too, not just 8
agreed.
games.
No, you're exactly right. What a great job, though.
Thank you. Yeah, we have a lot of fun out there. So, not a better place than Las Vegas to put on a golf tournament, let me tell you.
And then the combination with Shriners certainly has to be extremely rewarding as Ethan Gorson bats to begin this inning. It seems like just a perfect marriage.
It really is. We just love, promoting Shriners Children's and, their mission through the golf tournament and through our PGA Tour players as well. It's great to be able to go out to other tournaments as well and try to recruit some of these PGA Tour guys to come play. And what a great story that we can say, too. It's like, hey, come to Las Vegas, enjoy our resorts, enjoy a great golf course, but you're also playing for an incredible cause. So, it's really that messaging, all 3 of those put together, has really put together some great fields for us.
Yeah, that's great, Patrick. How'd you find yourself in this role? How'd you get it?
Yeah, really good question. I was in grad school, had my MBA in sports administration, and interned with the PGA Tour for a couple of years. Worked for the PGA Tour in an operations role for about 10 years. Tournament director position came available in Las Vegas, and asked my wife if she was interested in moving to Las Vegas.
All the way from Florida?
Yeah, from South Florida. Was in Miami. Was at the property down in Doral, and yeah, we decided to try to move across the country and make things work in Las Vegas, and it was an incredible decision. I actually have a son who's 9 years old, Wes, who has some special needs and is now a Shriners patient as well. So
Ethan Gorson gets the base hit to left field. Then Kennedy has played a great left all classic, unable to stop it, and Gorson will continue to second base. The Bruins have their first base runner against Lucas Gordon.
Well, so you go from South Florida to Las Vegas, so you trade the heat for the heat, but a lot less humidity, right?
That's right, dry heat. They say, it's the difference between a washing machine and a dryer.
I spent a lot of years in Tucson, so I understand that dry heat aspect, and that will be a double for Gorson.
Absolutely. But yeah, my son's a Shriner patient as well, so I'm actually able to, promote the event, enjoy some great golf too, and receive services from the hospital system as well. So it's really been just a full circle, opportunity for me.
Huge win. Yeah, that's great.
No surprise that the best ambassadors and the best spokespeople for Shriners are those that are impacted. So you get an opportunity to not only keep that in the family, but also kind of spread the word from a first-hand basis.
That's absolutely correct. I don't do nearly as good of a job as our patient ambassadors, though, that have been up in the booth that I've been able to escort up here over the last couple of days. Man, they are just so
They're killing
awesome.
it, knocking it out of the park.
All 4 of our patient ambassadors, throw Alec in there every year as well. They are so incredible.
Well, Patrick, I think it's just as important from a parent's perspective when you're talking to other parents who have kids with these needs. It's, it's a lot of emotion, a lot of issues that go into making that decision, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And my story, my family story is no different than any others. You walk into a Shriners facility and you are greeted with complete open arms, and they just, really embrace you and make sure that you feel as comfortable as possible. And then you back that up with incredible research that they have and the incredible medical care that they have as well. That's industry leading across the board. Again, regardless of the family's ability to pay, it's a home run for all of the family. So absolutely recommend it. And, we have, the 20 locations across the United States and Mexico and Canada. So we have a location for everyone.
Malachi Knight is the batter, and Patrick Lindsey joining us. And if there are people watching right now, they might want to know when this tournament is. So it's early October, correct?
Early October. October 3rd through the 9th is our event this year. 144 PGA Tour players will all kind of come to Las Vegas, and we're going to have a great event.
We think about your job and the amount of work that goes into 1 week out of the year. We know it's more than that, but obviously so much is concentrated on it. And you have the golfers and you have the fans and the hospitality, but also that extra aspect of the interaction with the golfers that get a chance to meet some of the patients who I'm sure are there that week.
Yes, absolutely. One of the best things that we do during our week, we have a standard bearer program where we invite one patient from all of our medical facilities to the golf course, and they act as standard bearers for the event on Saturday and Sunday. So they get a great kind of Vegas experience, family-friendly Vegas experience. And yes, that does exist. We love having have families come to Las Vegas, and Las Vegas helps us treat all of these kids to a great experience. But then they get to actually walk the golf course with these PGA Tour players.
Oh man!
And it's incredibly, it's so awesome to see it, because At the end of the day, sometimes we'll have a PGA Tour player who's in the lead walking up the 18th fairway, and instead of talking about, Victor Hovland walking up, they're talking about one of our patients and, how they just walked to 18 holes, and they are, have a prosthetic leg, and how amazing that is. So we're able to tell our stories of our patients through the telecast and the broadcast, which has been really cool.
Pretty amazing aspect. Malachi Knight hanging tough, and he'll spoil another.
Well, Patrick, we've heard, and also witness it here with these ball teams, that when the patient ambassadors visit the teams, they have such an effect on these young men's lives, and it's just the perspective that they get from visiting with these patients. And then, of course, I've heard some stories on the golf course as well. John Rahm came up the other day, and yeah, it's just equally, I think, as effective for the players to be involved with these young people.
Hit well to center. Hodo turning and running. Ballpark should hold it. He'll make the catch. Gorson will tag and go to third base.
Yeah, and you're right. There's definitely been an impact. Our PGA Tour players, our patients have had on the PGA Tour players. The John Rahm story is one that's been really cool recently. We've also made an impact on Bryson DeChambeau, and he is now a donor within our system as well.
Wow, fabulous.
So he's been great with us. Yeah. We're a beneficiary of his charity as well. So the patients have really started to wrap their arms around our program as well. So, and they love seeing the kids every year. It's one of the reasons why they always show up.
That's great. Sure, one of the best aspects about this event is you have 6 different teams, and their fan base is here. There's Perry Batts with the infield in. And there's a lot of people that might come out here for a college baseball event that find themselves intrigued by the stories, the tremendous ambassadors, want to contribute, want to donate. I got a feeling it's pretty rewarding when you have fans for golf that come out and also get involved.
Oh, geez. It's you kind of said it earlier. I mean, we do work year-round on this golf tournament, and we focus a lot of our time on the sales of sponsorships and programs and ticket sales. And I love just the planning part of the event, and because of that, there's nothing that's more rewarding than on a Sunday afternoon you seeing the leaders come in. We have a huge hillside on the right side of, players left of 18 green, and to see all of that, kind of our stadium full of people, is really, really rewarding. And it's just, one of my favorite times of the year.
Darius Perry with the RBI base hit puts UCLA in front against the #1 ranked team in the country. Here's Kenny Oyama. It's a great time of the year for a tournament in Vegas, isn't it, with the weather? October?
Yeah, it's pretty great. You're coming out of the 100 and 110 degree heat, and usually that first and second week of October, it's probably mid 70s to low 80s. It really is a perfect time to be out on the golf course and watching some of your favorite golfers and learning about Shriners.
Since you're a guy right there in that market, do they ever lean on you now with the East-West Shrine game at the Raiders Stadium where they can say, "Hey, Patrick"?
That's a great question, and we were really excited to be involved in that East-West Shrine Bowl game this year. I have a relatively small staff. I only have five people that work on golf year-round, but we are starting to get more involved in all of the sports, and we were able to go and
nearly a double play back at first. Toto made the catch, but unable to double off Perry.
We were able to help that football game this year, and it was a lot of fun. And there's 3 of my staff members here, including myself, at baseball right now. And we're just really loving being more involved in all of the sports. I was able to go to the Charleston Classic that we sponsor, the NCAA basketball tournament that we sponsor in Charleston as well. So I was able to go there and help. So we're going to be more involved. Our sports teams as a whole are all going to be more involved in helping each other out, which is something I look forward to in future years.
Makes perfect sense. And you see the fundraising goal on your screen at 90%. You can contribute a college classic and I do believe we will set an attendance record today if we haven't already, needing about 13,000. So it's just continuing to grow these events each and every year.
Absolutely, and that's our goal. That's my goal with golf as well. I came to Shriners in 2015 as the tournament director, and we had relatively low attendance that first year, and then probably 2019, right before the pandemic, we announced it's over 70,000 fans, which we were really, really proud of. But that, as we grow, this event has grown as well. And it's all about getting as many eyes on our mission and our logo as much as possible, so people really, truly understand what Shriners is about and how much we care about our families.
Jake Palmer, the hitter. You can't drag enough people out of the casinos to give them some fresh air of some golf during October, get them outside for a few hours.
We work really hard with them. All of the resorts in Las Vegas support us, which has been a mission of ours over the last few years, and I'm very proud to say that they now all donate, and whether it's Pro-Am teams or hospitality on site, they now all participate, and we're really excited about that. They've really kind of started to embrace us. But you're right. They need to get out there more, and I need all of their people to come out to the golf course and enjoy some fresh air.
Well, I think you have two people in this booth that may be out there at some point.
Well, again, you guys are always
we'll support you.
But, the best thing about golf, a golf tournament can be anything you want it to be. And, during the times of the pandemic, I think that's kind of showed, if you want to be inside a hospitality suite, there are those opportunities. But if you want to be a little bit more socially distant out on the third green, for instance, you can do that as well. So really, a golf tournament can be anything you want it to be, and that's what has made it successful for us.
Patrick, it seems like you picked the perfect time to move to Las Vegas. You've now got the professional hockey team with the Knights. You've got the Raiders out there. It's just the place is hopping.
It's becoming the sports capital of the world, and there might be there's some baseball rumblings around as well.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens with the Athletics, but we also have an incredible AAA baseball team, the Las Vegas Aviators, that play out in Summerlin that were a significant draw right before the pandemic. But yes, we are a sports town. We've got NASCAR going on right now. I think there's a NASCAR race in Las Vegas literally as we sit here and talk about it. So Las Vegas is a sports town, and we are really excited to be in the fold of that.
It'll be a mound visit. So tell us the course where this event takes place. We probably should ask that.
Yep, TPC Summerlin. We've been at that golf course for about 30 years now, the PGA Tour event has. So we've definitely found a home. Prior to that, it kind of bounced around some other golf courses in Las Vegas. But we've been there at TPC Summerlin for about 30 years now.
Patrick Lindsey, the executive director of the Shriners Golf Tournament in Las Vegas, joining us in the top of the third inning. It's a 1-0 Bruins lead. What else do people need to know about the event if they're intrigued about coming out, maybe tickets or packages to stay in the town?
Absolutely. So really the best place to go is our website, Shriners Children's Open, to get all the information. Tickets are very affordable, starting at $30. We sell a lot of good any one-day tickets, so you can actually come out for the 4-day stretch. And if you only want to come out to the golf tournament one day, that is perfectly fine. You only need to buy one ticket, and you can actually choose the day that you want to go based on that good any one-day opportunity, and you can pick your day based on the weather or what other activities are going on. And that's been a pretty successful ticket for us, that people can buy early and decide what day they want to go later. But we also have some packages up there for some of our hotel partners as well. So please go to our website and check it out. But we have really great options for tickets, from anywhere from just a grounds pass to walk all 18 holes to corporate hospitality and Pro-Am opportunities. If anyone's interested in playing in our Pro-Am and walking 18 holes with a PGA Tour player.
Here you have it. Cody Schreier chops one foul. Pat, I got to believe there's people that are coming through this event, again, college baseball fans, seeing how this event is run and how tremendous these 9 games in 3 days are. Might want to take up some golf this fall.
Yeah, I would love. I don't know if you guys have seen our commercials running on the Jumbotron, but yeah, we're trying to get as many people out here as possible. And again, you guys are absolutely more than welcome to come out and see us.
Line Messenger to end the inning. Patrick, one more time, give us the website.
Yeah, Shriners Children's Open, October 3rd through the 9th.
Sounds good.
Watch me. Watch me shine with every snap. Born to move fans, to cheer and clap. 2 different legs, that's how I play. One built from science to help me on the day. Between these lines, I'm all heart and muscle. Don't stare too long, you'll miss the hustle. Watch me. Pioneers in prosthetic technology at Shriners Children's. The most amazing care anywhere.
Watch me. Watch me roam, discover, explore. The forest is quiet. The river will roar. One slip by the fire is all it took. But they made my arm better. Just take a look. Under moon and stars. That's where I love to stay. Let's go play in the woods. I'll show you the way. Watch me. The place to turn for any bird. Shriners Children's. The most amazing care anywhere.
Spring training is back in the Palm Beaches this spring. Experience Astros baseball, plus the best beaches, dining, and entertainment after the game. There's nothing better than Astros spring ball in sunny Florida. For tickets and more, visit astros.com/spring to book your trip. Plan your visit now to the spring training home of the Houston Astros, the Palm Beaches.
Marucci has teamed up with Shriners Children's to provide fans with a fully customized official College Classic souvenir bat. Fans who donate $100 or more receive a free bat from Marucci. Donations of $250 or more will earn a free full-size bat engraved with their own name. So visit collegeclassic.org today to make a donation and receive your free Marucci baseball bat. Pretty good play by Messenger to end last inning to keep the Bruins at just 1 run.
Man, went horizontal on that Cody Schreier bullet. Easily could have been another RBI for Schreier for this tournament, but more importantly, an added run for UCLA. But they'll settle for 1. They do go ahead.
Here's Trey Faltini. He's going to lead off against Kelly Austin to begin the bottom of the 3rd inning. Faltini homered the other day. Texas in their social media channels, along with Kendall Rogers of D1 Baseball, will join us a little bit later. Had fun with Faltini because he comes to the ballpark every day with a fully customized boombox, all adorned with Longhorn logos and colors.
I've seen it. And we heard it the other day, them coming into batting practice.
Oh, he brought the boombox in?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he brings it everywhere.
I mean, that's like, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air 20 years ago, right?
Just taking us back 20 years.
The boombox up on the shoulder.
Most of these guys just wear headphones and earbuds nowadays, but yep, that's the team rule. You can't wear those on the field, so instead they've got the Hook'em Horns boombox.
Trey hitting .308, couple of home runs and 10 knocked in. Longhorns have 1 single through 2 innings against Austin. Hit well to center. Knight turning and running, nearing the fence. He makes the catch, bangs against the wall and holds on. And there's a smile there as well from Knight, maybe a little bit of relief.
Man, Malachi Knight covers some ground here at Minute Maid, and that ball was struck well off the bat of Faltini.
The center cut for that pitch, wasn't it?
Yeah, it sure was. He challenged Faltini and he delivered, and look at this catch by Malachi Knight. You just kind of have to relax your body knowing you're going full speed to catch it. Knight does the job, but what a great grab in center field to keep Faltini off the base pass.
Got a kick out of Austin. That ball went up and he's pointing into the air as if to say it's up in the air. Yeah, it was almost over the fence.
That's right.
Schuessler, the catcher. An A&M transfer, so for 3. Are you allowed to transfer from one school to another? I guess you just can't go back.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Soft liner. This one just clears the glove of Schreier. If Schreier made that grab, the Longhorns might have been shaking their heads after a couple of nice plays.
Yeah, that was a little of a mistimed jump by Schreier at short. Right. Ball was hit a bit off the end of the bat from Schuessler, and he could just kind of caught Schreier in between his jump. Jumped a tad early, but nonetheless, both catchers who have yet to appear in this tournament until today both have singles. The only difference, Darius Perry's single in the third inning produced the first run on the board for UCLA.
Noticed a couple of Bruins reaching into their back pocket, checking the scouting report quickly after the play for the next hitter.
They must not have those watches that the Vanderbilt team wears. Tells them where to position and which pitch is coming.
Douglas Hodo the third, the big 3-run homer last night, flying to right. I think it's a matter of time before more teams have those watches.
Oh, no doubt. I think we're seeing two. If you look on the back of the catcher's equipment of Texas, David Pierce used the walkie-talkie system, so they have an earplug that they received the pitch call from. We'll focus in and show you what that looks like. But just a typical earpiece that goes in the ear of the Texas catchers, and that's how Texas signals in their pitches.
Well, John Savage, we've seen him with the walkie-talkie down in the dugout, so he has that going on. And what I appreciate about Coach Savage, he's got the old man reader glasses on too.
Yeah, there's the earpiece in the ear of Darius Perry. You've seen a lot of the college clubs here at the D1 level go to that system.
That wasn't a pitch out. That pitch just missed. But there's Coach Savage. So he's got the walkie-talkie. Watch him then relay this signal in. Don't let me down, Coach. Where's it at?
It's right in front of him, yeah.
There he is. Here he reached for it. We cut off too soon. He was getting ready. There he's radioing in. And he's got the old man reader glasses on. And we can say that because that's what we have going on, too.
Yeah, we're all in the same category here. Well, it's this type of communication system is meant to speed the game up, obviously, and you still see some of the coaches use the arm guards, and you see catchers look down and get signs in from the dugout. And then the old school guys don't use any of it. They still signal the pitches in. You see John Strauss from Baylor do that.
Hold up. Lifting one to center. Back goes Knight again. Deep part of the yard. Made 2 plays this inning. This time he didn't have to crash into the fence.
Yeah, a couple of long, loud outs off the bats of these Longhorns here in the bottom of the third. Nothing to show for it. Malachi Knight checking his scouting card.
Eric Kennedy struck out in the first, dropping his average all the way down to 400 on the season. 14 base hits. Can't believe the Longhorns have even trailed much this year. Came into today outscoring their opponents 85-13.
Yeah, so 11 games, 13 runs. Now, I got to believe they haven't been behind many of those games. Well, this is a veteran lineup for Texas. Just look up and down the order. It's junior, sophomore, senior, sophomore, freshman. Kimball Schusler at first base, the only true freshman in the lineup today.
Pitch turned on and just walloped off the third deck down the line before landing back downstairs.
Slightly early was Kennedy, but Kennedy a tough out in this lineup. He's always been a solid hitter for Texas, but he's just gotten better and better. Steady improvement. Now added some power to the swing.
Fooled on the breaking ball.
A good curveball from Austin. Struck Kennedy out on the straight changeup last at bat. See what he attacks him with here on the 1-2 count.
I think that's a swing, and it is. And the inning ends. Longhorns get a hit, but they strand a runner. We played 3 innings. It's 1-0 UCLA.
With Panera's You Pick 2, every meal is made fantastic. You can be fresh and fun, bold and classic, cozy and precocious. With 465 fresh, clean, craveable pairings, find a You Pick 2 for any mood. Enjoy a $1 delivery fee when you order on our app.
You know Miller Lite only has 1 more calorie, right?
And more taste. Good choice.
Step up to the plate and join the official kids club of the Houston Astros, presented by HEB. Children 12 and under will receive 4 tickets to a select Astros game, a jersey, drawstring bag, a hat, and lanyard, as well as the opportunity to be selected for exclusive events during the year. All for only $30. You can become a Buddies member today by visiting astros.com/buddies.
The Astros are hiring. Join us on Saturday, March 12th from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. in Union Station for a part-time job fair. We are hiring for part-time positions in retail, guest services, and tickets. To see what specific positions are available, visit astros.com/jobs and click on the part-time job fair posting for more information.
Coming up next Saturday. Michael Curiali, the third baseman, will lead off for the Bruins in the 4th inning. As Lucas Gordon goes back to the mound again, filling in for Tanner Witt, who we expected to see today but was a scratch. And maybe nothing other than a precaution. Curiali past to third is only time in.
Couple of good low strikes from Lucas Gordon, and that's where he's had success. Down in the strike zone, you see the good downward tilt to the pitches. Arm side run. That sinking fastball has been effective for most part of the day. Just off the plate.
Well, for the Bruins, they're picked 4th in the preseason Pac-12 poll. Stanford, a very good Stanford team, was picked 1st. Oregon State, Arizona. Arizona just lost a series to Texas State in Tucson. That one came so far in, nearly clipped Curiali.
How about the Bobcats?
Indeed. You know what's unique, though, for Arizona, UCLA, other teams this year, is the emergence of a Pac-12 tournament. They've never had one. So all of a sudden, an event such as this maybe is a little bit of a precursor as well to playing in a conference tournament.
Yeah, it certainly has that feel. You know, you come into a situation like this at Shriners and you're having to prepare for 3 different games, 3 different teams. That is a challenge. You ask these coaches that you just can't settle into the series.
Nice play again by Messenger at third. He's made a couple of good ones. Pat, I think that's the most important part. It isn't just playing good teams. It's playing different teams each day as you would in that tournament format.
That's it. That's what has that feel to it. And you know, it's just a lot of scouting reports you have to go over and a lot of prep work for these coaching staffs and for the players. The players have player meetings and you're going through your defense's alignment. You're going through your pitching staff and talking about these heat maps that they have in terms of how to get hitters out.
Aylin Reyes flew out to right in his only at bat, hitting here in the 4th inning. UCLA did play in Arlington last year. Been a Minute Maid Park before. It's been a little while. Soft flare over the head of Faltini, dropping for a base hit. Bruins have their 3rd of the game. One person not in their lineup today, though, is John Vons, the football player.
Yeah, he'd had the only start yesterday. Didn't start Friday. But left-handed hitter. You may see him pinch hit and roll here later in the game.
Yates will make good contact again. Smashes one into center for a base hit. He had the homers in the first 2 games and flew out to right earlier before he smokes one into center for yet another hit.
Well, you love how Yates swings the bat. Just a nice short stroke. And he stays behind the ball well, especially for a guy that has the power he has. And just a great approach to hitting there. You face a lefty like Lucas Gordon, who, with a lot of right-handers, everything's moving away from the right-hander. The approach has to be going back up the middle. Challenge him to make a pitch on the inside part of the plate to beat you if you're a righty. A great approach there by Yates.
Ethan Gorson had the liner to left that kicked by Kennedy and went as a double last inning, and he would score. Gorson drives this one to center. Back goes Hodo. Got to the spot, able to make the catch. Reyes will not tag. And there's 2 outs. These center fielders for both teams have been
balls. We've seen smoke to center field, and yeah, both Douglas Hodo and Malachi Knight earning their pay today. Or should we say earning their scholarship today?
You can earn pay now in NIL.
That's right, NIL. That's exactly right.
There are some days that I fight that old man urge when I see guys getting 7-figure NIL deals and others that might be just getting some compensation because they're on a team. But I don't have that issue with baseball and softball because these kids are paying their own way, or a bulk of it.
For the most part, they are. And we've talked about it, Brett. You know, you get a 25-30% scholarship in baseball. That's a pretty big deal.
And I don't even mind a guy who might be a Heisman Trophy winner getting a big endorsement deal. But when you go into the transfer portal and your first question is, where can I make the most money? It just seems a little odd rather than what's the best fit for me athletically, academically. But again, with this sport, baseball, and you're paying 75-60%, whatever it is.
That's right. And you talk about 11.7 scholarships being divided up usually between 30 men and sometimes 35 people on a roster in baseball. It makes it for challenging times for parents, especially, you consider that it's not a level playing field in college baseball. You think about the private schools and the tuition costs versus a public school. It's sometimes really difficult in terms of recruiting for some of these schools.
Malachi Knight fouls one back, and that might be a good example. This was a young man that in the Seattle area was a tremendous basketball player, scoring 26 points a game. He may have had options to take a full ride basketball versus a partial baseball.
That's one more factor to throw into when you're dealing with these multi-sport athletes.
1-2 pitch is up and out from Lucas Gordon. Couple of singles this inning for the Bruins. Gordon trying to navigate through 4 frames, giving up just the 1 run in this spot start. At second is Reyes. At first is Yates. The 2-2 pitch on the way. Fouled back again.
Well, Knight, part of that tremendous freshman class that came into UCLA. John Savage has 3 of those freshmen in the lineup today. Schreier, Gorson, and Knight.
Still trying to figure out this lineup in some senses. Can we get more hitters into this lineup? How can we do more damage? We know a lot of these young kids are going to get a chance to earn their stripes. Knight will wave and miss. Gordon gets the K. Able to strand a couple of runners. 3.5 complete today from Minute Maid. It's been a pitcher's duel here in game 2.
Move over, KFC. It's KFC Tenders. And the same creamy mac and cheese, crispy fries, buttery biscuits, and delicious sauces. The KFC 8-piece Tenders meal. Get free delivery on the KFC app. It's finger-licking good.
H-Town High School Sports. The excitement, the emotion, the passion. Only on H-Town High School Sports with Todd Freed.
See it right here on AT&T Sportsnet.
6 remarkable kids have each teamed up with a participating university for the Shriners Children's College Classic Team Fundraising Challenge. Now, all weekend long, teams will compete to see which fan base can raise the most money in support of Shriners Children's. So go online to collegeclassic.org to donate in honor of your favorite team today. We're going to move into the bottom of the 4th inning here at Minute Maid. So far, so good for Kelly Austin, who's given up a couple of singles to the #1 team in the country, but no damage done. And the Bruins own that 1-0 lead. Here's Ivan Melendez, a strikeout victim of Austin, one of his 5 today, back in the first. That one is launched. Where will it land? The Hispanic Titanic with a blast again. Melendez doesn't get cheated. That one finished up near the train tracks. And with one mighty swing, this game is tied at 1. What a blast. First pitch swinging. Melendez sitting all over fastball. And he gets hit it in, and he did not miss it.
Designated hitter, #4, Cyrus Michael.
That was a no-doubter in any ballpark.
That thing just disappeared up there and all that business.
It went over the tracks.
That's Zubia and Lucan Baker territory.
Train conductor can find that one. That didn't take long.
The reaction from Oyama and left was one where he just looked straight up and didn't move.
And that's where you probably do it exactly what we're doing in the booth, is where will that land?
We might try and investigate after this pitch, or maybe we can do it here as John Savage pays a mound visit. Let's take a look at this swing and this result from Melendez.
Man, what a nice quiet swing too. You didn't see much movement with the body. Head stayed perfectly still. That is a strong human.
I'll say it again, I think it just disappeared.
Yeah, it never came down, Brett. I mean, we didn't see a ricochet, didn't see where it hit. It just never came down. How about that?
3rd of the season for a team that has now hit 7.
Good timeout by John Savage. Veteran move there just to calm his starting pitcher Kelly Austin down a bit. Austin had been spotless up to that point. Really hadn't been in much trouble.
Here's Ardoin, who singled his only time in. Takes strike 1.
Yeah, what a gift of having Ivan Melendez back in that Texas lineup. You know, we talked about it yesterday. You know, really expected him to get drafted and signed, and of course the Marlins took him but did not get the money he was looking for and chose to come back here, and that was something that David Pierce was not counting on.
You lose a few players who you expect to get on campus, so it's nice to balance that out every once in a while.
Yeah, he loses a first-round pick, Ty Madden, obviously, their Friday night starter from last season, but plenty of pitching to back that up. But then you look down that lineup, and who would have stepped in for Melendez?
Ardoin will fly out to Malachi Knight for the first out in the 4th. And here's Austin Todd. Todd dropped down a bunt to advance Ardoin back in the 2nd.
I sure love how Darius Perry receives the ball. Battery mate for Kelly Austin. Watch how he gets underneath those pitches down, and it's really bottom of the strike zone. If a catcher doesn't get that thumb underneath and have that glove coming up, oftentimes will not get that call. You see the more untrained catchers try to push that glove out and frame, and oftentimes a pitch that's going down in the zone, you'll drop the glove down and it'll take it out of the zone. Perry does a great job of keeping that thumb underneath the pitch. There it is.
Just missed outside. From Kelly Austin to Austin Todd. Got a lot of Austins here, but that Austin, about a year ago today, March 9th last year, the season-ending injury. Played in just 6 games. Wasn't able to participate in an amazing run or trip to Omaha or season.
That was a tough one for Austin to miss, and of course coming back here as a grad senior. Had a really solid career for the Horns.
Six straight opening days he's been in the starting lineup for Texas. All right, somebody go ahead and knock that one off. Try and do better than that at some point.
Well, you might get some of those 6-year guys, but how many of them came into their freshman year and started right away?
Started.
Yeah, probably not many.
Count is going full. Play for Kiriani. Nice big bounce. Perfect throw. 2 outs.
Well, Kelly Austin, a really good start. Solid here for the Bruins. He's now got 4 and let's call it 3 2/3 innings under his belt, and pretty efficient. 54 pitches total. 34 of those strikes. He did a good job of working ahead and that Bruin goal of pitching to contact and trying to get hitters and out in 3 pitches or less. Pretty solid in that department.
Would say so. Murphy Staley struck out in his only AB. You got 2 guys here that are both from Orange Coast. They would not have overlapped because Staley was there in 2019. Austin would have been there the last couple of seasons.
There's the movement of the glove. You start that glove down and bring it up to the zone, so the glove is moving up as the pitch is being thrown.
Roller right to Palmer. He'll flip to Austin covering for an out to end the inning. 3 straight men retired after the Ivan Melendez blast. 4 innings completes. This game tied at 1.
Watch me. Watch me pirouette with style and grace. An open floor of inspiration. This is my place. 5 positions to start, leotard and tights. A story through movement, under music and lights. Straight and tall, they promised I'd stand. I'm a ballerina who twirls like the blades of a fan. Watch me. Innovative scoliosis treatment at Shriners Children's. The most amazing care anywhere.
Big moments. The best fans. Feel the excitement and don't miss a moment. Astros 2022 season tickets are on sale now. Astros.com/season tickets.
Spring training is back in the Palm Beaches this spring. Experience Astros baseball, plus the best beaches, dining, and entertainment after the game. There's nothing better than Astros spring ball in sunny Florida. For tickets and more, visit astros.com/spring to book your trip. Plan your visit now to the spring training home of the Houston Astros, the Palm Beaches.
Coverage of the Shriners Children's College Classic is brought to you by Marucci, the #1 bat in the big leagues. This game moves along into the 5th inning. Texas Longhorns gone to the bullpen for the first time.
Yeah, take a look at LeBaron Johnson Jr. A few innings into this 22 season. His strikeout to walk ratio 5-0. Low 90s fastball. He's been up to 96 at times. Ton of upside. David Pierce says potentially a future weekend pitcher.
Lucas Gordon did a pretty good job, though, in relief.
He sure did. He had to spot start there, a fill in for Tanner Witt. And Gordon will go 4 innings. Gives up just 3 hits and a run. It's a nice job of Gordon filling in for Witt. And now LeBaron Johnson on for his 4th appearance of the season. Opponent's hitting only 100 against him.
He did not make an appearance last year as a freshman. Jacksonville, Florida native. Darius Perry is going to lead off. Perry singled in the right and drove in the Bruins' run in the 3rd inning. So 9-1-2 to open the Bruins' 5th inning. It's a little bit in now to Perry, 3-0.
We'll see if Perry takes a strike here.
He got one at 93.
We like that nice loose whippy arm that Johnson has.
Big leg kick. And he gets the called strike. Perry thought he had ball 4.
Yeah, the ball was up. According to home plate umpire Seth Buckminster, catches the top of the zone.
He says.
Yeah. Perry, the catcher for the Bruins, going back saying, okay, I want that same pitch.
Now the 3-2, he'll foul it away, and we'll do it again. Johnson trying to retire the first man that he faces. Get off to a good start here in the 5th. Another one fouled away.
Perry hanging tough. Fouling off a couple of good fastballs down in the zone from Johnson.
Another payoff hit well to center. Turning and running is Hodo. Still going back with room. He'll make the catch.
And these balls to center field, it's like no man's land out here in Minute Maid today. These some balls that have really been jolted, just dying at the warning track. I think that's about the fourth one we've seen this game.
It's a lot of work to hit a ball that far to have it be
get nothing for it.
Caught easily.
You certainly can't blame it on the wind today. It's indoor baseball. The flags are dead to the pole. It's just a ball not carrying.
Oyama had hit safely in 8 of 9 games to start this year. It's a wonder when you look at him, it doesn't result in about 3 walks every game.
The old Eddie Gay look, right?
Yeah, there's not a big strike zone there with Oyama.
No,
he's listed at 5'4", but Altuve would tower over him.
Well, look, if you're looking at a model in the Major League Baseball that's done it successfully, that's certainly a good one. And you know, Yama tough to pitch to, but also swings a pretty good stick. He sprays the ball around pretty well, and he's got some wheels. He can run.
Played at Loyola Marymount. He's already at 47 at-bats this year, so he's been a fixture.
Yeah, not a guy you want to walk either. 10 of 10 against the stolen base department.
Agreed.
So.
Well, on command, there is the walk, and he'll be aboard. Jake Palmer, the batter. He walked back in the 3rd inning.
You know, Palmer, one of the 2 grad transfers in the lineup. Just saw the other one, Kenny Oyama. We talked about John Savage and how he really likes to recruit and develop those freshman players coming in. And they also recognize after you lose 10 players to the draft, he lost his shortstop, catcher, first baseman, lost his entire outfield, his top 4 hitters, and you can see why Savage felt like it was important to go find a couple of veteran guys that could at least give him some foundation to the top of that lineup. And that's exactly what Palmer and Oyama have done early in this 22 season.
Yeah, first time ever with those grad transfers, and he said we just don't jump into the portal. But I think even when you are able to recruit at such a high level as UCLA has been able to do, and then develop and have guys go pro after 3 years, which creates that constant land of opportunity for the young players when they come in, it would be tempting, I would imagine more often than not now going forward, when you do have a significant hole, a position need, just to go in there and grab a couple of guys.
Yeah, that's what transfer portal really comes in handy. And you know, even with your commitment to developing players, you lose that many guys after a season, and we really do need some leadership, some senior guys, some guys that have been around the program for a while. But you also have to look at the biggest holes you've got, and sometimes you can't fill every hole with a freshman.
Palmer played at UC Irvine, which is, of course, where John Savage coached for a few seasons, 2002 to 2004. Once an anteater, always an anteater.
We've seen those anteaters in regionals, really good baseball program.
Off and rolling is Oyama. He's safe again. 11 of 11 on stolen bases.
Yeah, not much of a chance for Kimball Schusler. And that was the big leg kick of Johnson. And really slow to the plate. That allows Oyama to get in safely, but
and he really kicks that leg out there, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. It's just a slow move to home, and Schusler knows it. He had to make a perfect throw, even with a good pop time, and that's not going to get the speedy Kenny Oyama.
One and one the count to Palmer. Oyama's going to try and take third, and he's got another one. A perfect 12 of 12.
Wow. Just an elite premier base stealer, Oyama. And you know, sometimes you pick the pitch. Sometimes it's not that complicated. You just see a high leg kick. You start to get a running start at second base. That's exactly what Oyama did. And watch this jump at second. Moving towards second. Yep. He's off and running. Johnson just did not vary his look.
It's going to force the Texas Longhorns to bring their infield in all the way around. Trying to cut down a go-ahead run in the fifth inning. A walk has turned into a triple in essence. We just had a time warning for Johnson.
That's the old 20-second clock that's being utilized in college baseball. Been here for a few years now, but you get the warning. The first one's free. The second one, you get charged with the ball.
Johnson really now deliberate with that runner at third base. In the air to shallow center. Can Hodo get there? Coming racing on into a dive. He makes the catch, and then the ball kicked out. Oyama was going to be able to tag and score. Remember, Faltini was playing in, so he couldn't go back and make that play. And then Hodo couldn't hold on.
That's 2-1 Bruins. For a manufactured run, that's a walk, a couple of stolen bases, and the ball just dumped in front of Hodo, and that's going to do it for LeBaron Johnson. Palmer doing what he needed to do. He popped the ball up. He knew it wasn't really deep, but Hodo playing back in a valiant effort. You're exactly right, Brett. That ball was in his glove for just a moment, but
he had such a long way to come and get that baseball.
We talk about the depth of this Texas Longhorn bullpen. It's going to be certainly tested today.
We'll step aside, come back with a new pitcher.
Itchy, scratchy, family not getting clean? Get Charmin Ultra Strong. It just cleans better, so your family can use less.
Hello, clean bottom.
Enjoy the go with Charmin.
I don't think I can do this.
You said you wanted to feel the power of Cricket 5G.
I thought you meant like live streaming.
Oh, we're live streaming, all right. Let's roll. Smile, you're on Cricket.
5-hour energy, because it's time to hit the gym and work up a sweat. And you're gonna need some energy, lots of energy. 5-hour energy for every workout.
Imagine yourself in a new Toyota.
Wow. Perfect. I think red is more me. Giddy up.
Did you know that every new Toyota comes with Toyota Care? A 2-year or 25,000-mile maintenance plan and roadside assistance. That's the value you can expect from Toyota.
Ready, set, go get your Toyota today.
Toyota, let's go places.
You know Miller Lite only has 1 more calorie, right?
At my taste. Good choice.
Astros mini plans are the perfect way to watch the season with the flexibility you want. So catch the biggest matchups, collect every bobblehead, or start every weekend with Friday night fireworks. There's a mini plan for you. Just visit Astros.com/ticket plans to find your tickets today. New pitcher for the Texas Longhorns with UCLA back in front 2-1. It's Ace Whitehead.
Well, how about making your 22 debut and your collegiate debut at Minute Maid Ballpark? And your team's down 2-0 or 2-1 to the UCLA Bruins. That's where Ace Whitehead finds himself. 5'11", 185-pound freshman from Lampasas, Texas. He is making his collegiate debut.
And so many players on this Longhorn roster were accomplished high school football players, a lot of times quarterbacks. And there's a pitch down and in to Cody Schreier, who homered yesterday. All Whitehead did at Lampasas is throw for almost 13,000 yards and 170 touchdowns.
That, you know, you think would make for a tough decision. Do you go football, baseball? But obviously the lefty has chosen baseball here for University of Texas. You know, how about the foresight of his parents? Not a bad name for a pitcher.
Schreier's 0 for 2. He hit an absolute rocket at the third baseman Messenger back in the 5th. Had it gone into left field, it would have scored a run, and it would have been the second run of the inning, and who knows what the Bruins would have done after that.
You know, Whitehead has obviously earned the trust of Sean Allen, the pitching coach, and David Pierce. Coming to a tight situation here in Houston and fill it up.
Have you heard this yet today? There's a ball smoked to center for an out.
Hodo's going to earn overtime pay before this day is over.
That's 4 lineouts to Hodo, and he had the diving attempt on the single from Palmer. Malachi Knights had 3 in his direction. Here's the third baseman, Kiriali. Good pitch for a strike at the knee.
Yeah, fastball sitting upper 80s from Whitehead.
Kiriali from a tremendous baseball program, J. Sarah Catholic. Ball to the strike to count.
Couple of changeup just missing down in the zone, and Whitehead behind the count to Kiriali.
Another one hit well down the line and left. Kennedy over and circle around it. Palmer's going to go to third. The throw goes to second to keep Kiriali to a long single.
Good decision by Eric Kennedy in left field. Palmer scooting around pretty quick was going to make it easily in the third, and Kennedy throwing behind the lead runner to keep Kiriali at first base. So a couple of outs in the inning, but Whitehead now to face the middle of this Bruin lineup and a chance for them to add to their lead.
Indeed. Finish my thought on Kiriali. I mentioned from J. Sarah High School. They had the #1 overall pick just a few years ago. Royce Lewis in 2017. So they've had some good ones.
They have.
Dalen Reyes will bat. He singled and flied to right.
It's all those great private schools here in Southern California. You think of De La Salle and Notre Dame, J. Sarah.
Pitch in there for a strike from Whitehead to Reyes. Oyama, who got the walk, couple of stolen bases, and scored on a blue pit earlier this inning, but runners on the corners for the Bruins with 2 outs. Botched by Schussler. Tried to play the carom, flipped late, and it's now a 3-1 UCLA lead.
That ball had some late cut to it, and Schussler did not react to it well. I'm not sure if their paths cross with the pitch, or just a pitch that broke and Schussler was not expecting.
He shot that ball off his glove so hard it hit the backstop, came back to him.
Yeah, the first thing you think about in a situation like that is, did he get crossed up? But there's no man at second base, so really hard to do if you're not given multiple signs. That was definitely a ball off of Schussler's glove, and that'll go down as a pass ball.
But not only has the 3rd run of the game scored for the Bruins, but Kiriali's in scoring position, so just a base hit, make it a 4-1 lead. Messenger's been awfully good at third. Oh my goodness.
It's going to be interference.
Kiriali is going to be out for the interference. Now the question is Messenger okay? He got trucked, and I think Kiriali, obviously he didn't see the third baseman because they both took a tremendous shot.
Yeah, Kiriali took it in the wrist or the arm, and Messenger in the head. Totally unintentional, but really tough collision there between those two players.
Runner interference will end the 5th inning, but the Bruins get a couple of runs. Hopefully Kiriali's okay. UCLA now owns a 3-1 lead. Crazy play to end the inning. My goodness.
Five-hour energy, because it's time to hit the gym and work up a sweat. And you're going to need some energy, lots of energy. 5-hour energy for every workout.
Today we welcome Brandon and his family to Jackie Robinson Stadium. It was just a great atmosphere really to welcome him.
Brandon, he's 10 years old, started getting elbow pain, and we got referred to Dr. at Shriners. 2 days before his appointment, he ended up fracturing his foot. We were able to get a referral for him to be seen for both things at the same time. We're currently in a rehab for his elbow, and his foot is totally healed now. It was awesome that we were able to have a smooth transition through both of the injuries. Couldn't ask for anything better.
My name is Brandon, and I'm a patient at Shriners Pasadena. It was really fun because they gave me a tour, and then I got to interact with a lot of players. I love to play baseball. I've been playing since I was 3 years old. It's been really fun representing all the Shriners patients around the world and becoming a Bruin here.
A lot of kids, they get hurt and they don't really know what to do. They don't know who to listen to. And to have someone like Shriners in your corner is just unbelievable.
This is just a day where he can enjoy it, feel like himself a little bit more as a baseball player.
It's been a really fun day, the best day of maybe the year.
Now working with a 3-1 lead. So Austin watched his teammates score a couple of runs to break up this tie game after Melendez had homered in the bottom of the 4th to briefly even things up for Texas.
Well, you're ahead of the #1 team in the country right now, and you're Kelly Austin. You're thinking to yourself, I've got a chance here to get my team deep into this start. Only 58 pitches so far through his 4 innings, but you got to center it back down into one pitch at a time, one hitter at a time, and that's what Kelly Austin has to be thinking about right about this moment.
What do you think Skylar Messenger's thinking about? Obviously he's okay. He's leading off this inning after he got steamrolled, and Skylar's a big guy, but that was a collision.
He got clocked. Yeah, and he was in a really vulnerable position with his head out there trying to field that ground ball, and obviously Michael Kiriali was not had no intent of injuring or trying to take Messenger out, but that was some type of collision.
I'll be honest with you, it's a wonder that doesn't happen about once a week.
Yeah.
Some type of collision, runners trying to get to a base, not completely aware of how the infielder's maneuvering or moving towards a ground ball.
Yeah, and obviously the runner has to give way to the defending player, but yeah, that was a situation where Messenger looked like he wasn't quite sure which direction, or I'm sorry, Curielli wasn't quite sure which direction Messenger was going to take, and he just kept running straight ahead and plowed him. But, Messenger back up and into the box, and there it is again.
Ooh, I mean, that's a great shot. And remember, runners interfere, fielders obstruct. I hear that terminology butchered all the time, but that was obviously interference of the highest magnitude.
Oh, man. If we're playing a different sport, that might have been Curielli getting kicked out for targeting.
Yeah, he'd have to sit out the first half of the next game. That's strike 3 to Messenger. First out of the 5th inning.
This is exactly what you want from your starting pitcher. Your offense gives you a 3-1 lead. You go back out to the mound and just pound the strike zone and quickly get that first out. Just kind of keeps that momentum going for the boys in blue and gold.
It's Faltini. He flied out to the wall in center. Hit one about, 408 feet?
Man.
Malachi Knight made a tremendous catch where he banged against the fence to the right of the batter's eye.
Yeah, 2 more feet. And Faltini is celebrating over that NitoTire.com sign. Not sure where that missed, but Austin doesn't get the call.
Fouled back by Faltini.
Line him out, Trey. Line him out, Trey. Let's go. Win, Trey, win. Let's go.
Just 65 pitches so far for Kelly Austin. Through 4 1/3 innings. Wave it a miss to the high one.
And Austin getting stronger after that home run to Ivan Melendez. Back to lead off the 4th. He has retired 5 straight, last 2 by strikes. And there's a second strikeout in a row from Kelly Austin.
7 strikeouts now in the game.
Let's go, Shoes. Let's go.
Schussler, the batter. If he got about 500 at-bats in a pro season tonight, to say that name 500 times. The number of times I might get it 100% accurate would not be many. Schussler.
Yeah. Say it 3 times fast.
Well placed on the corner for a strike.
Yeah, Schussler with one of only 3 hits on the afternoon so far for Texas.
Here we go, Shoes. Here we go, Shoes. Let's go. Let's go.
Couple of singles in that long home run from Melendez.
Yeah, hard one with the only other single, so. Kelly Austin doing a great job for the Bruins. Just misses downstairs.
Keep going, Shoes. Let's go. Win, Shoes. Win, Shoes.
The 1-2 from Kelly Austin.
Keep going, huh, boy?
Hooked off the Longhorn dugout.
Just off the end of his bat. Really good fastball from Austin. Fastball has held firm. He's been upper 80s all day. It has not leaked at all.
Lot of trust, Shoes. Here we go.
And it's kind of a quiet ballpark, Britt. Kind of almost similar to what we saw last night with Texas jumping out to that lead, and LSU fans kind of kept it quiet till later in the game. And
somewhat subdued. Chance to strike out the side if Perry can make this throw, and he does. How about the inning for Austin?
Wow. 3 punch-outs here in the 5th inning. And Austin and the Bruins take that 3-1 lead back to the dugout.
Innovation transforms the world, moving us forward not just in steps, but in leaps and bounds. Innovation created a healthcare system so extraordinary, it not only improves the lives of veterans, it transforms the lives of healthcare professionals, collaborating through integrated care teams, accessing the latest technology, working with the most advanced medical science, and even creating it. Like discovering new ways to integrate technology with the human body. It's a unique culture of transformation that leads to solutions that best serve our veterans. The Department of Veterans Affairs, where innovation ensures those who served our nation are served by the very best. See how a career at VA can transform your future.
Each week, he takes you around the world for unlimited access to legends.
You have done your research.
And future legends.
You are the first person I showed this.
In depth with Graham Bensinger.
It's a 3-1 Bruins lead. Kelly Austin just struck out the side in the 5th. This was the final sequence of the inning.
Yeah, ball squirts away from Darius Perry, and I think Schussler did not realize that Perry was going to make the throw, and didn't look like he was busting it down the first baseline. It was kind of a great sell job when you look at Jake Palmer kind of totally relaxed, kind of sold it. And Schussler out on the strikeout, but sure looked like he could have made it had he been busted down that first baseline.
See, my thought is he thinks the ball's only a couple of feet away, and he knows he's going to be out. He doesn't want to sprint and be out by 15 feet.
Well, yeah, it's just one of those mental base running mistakes. I think if he's running full speed, it's either a much closer play or he beats it.
Distinct possibility. Instead, this game goes into the 6th inning. Here's Carson Yates. Pinch hit homer on Friday. Homer and 6 RBIs yesterday. He's lined to right and singled here this afternoon.
Well, Ace Whitehead on for his 2nd inning of relief. So far, we've seen a fastball in the upper 80s and a pretty good changeup when it's down in the zone. Gets some good run on it. Seen one breaking ball so far.
Called strike at the belt. Bit of an elevated changeup.
Try to go right back inside with that fastball and just misses off the plate in.
I think Carson Yates has earned a little more playing time, though, with his performance this week.
What a weekend for him. He had 6 RBI day yesterday. And it's that nice, short, compact swing.
At 7 starts last year as a true freshman, hit 136. So that's 3 hits. 2 home runs in the first couple of games.
Man, he's putting on a show here in Houston.
Count's gone full.
Whitehead got underneath that off-speed delivery. Stayed up in the zone, so now count full on Yates.
And the payoff, ripped to left field, hit well. Does he have another one? Just missed. And it bounds back towards right center. So Yates is going to keep right on running. And he's got himself a triple. He just missed his 3rd home run in as many days in the College Classic.
Not by much, maybe a foot or so below the yellow line out in left center, heading towards that Papa John's sign, and there it is. Yeah, just a couple of feet below the home run line. How about Carson Yates? Just continues to add to those numbers, but more importantly, puts a runner at third base with no outs here in the 6th inning for the Bruins.
A couple of feet probably. Tell you what, were it not for Hodo sprinting after that ball, we might have had a chance for our 2nd inside park home run of the day.
Yeah, we saw a ball here in the previous game off that Chevrolet sign and just came shot right back towards left field. That ball did result in a inside the park home run.
So the Bruins are going to force the Longhorns to bring the infield in all the way around. UCLA trying to extend this lead to 3, and this is Gorson, who's already lined to center and double.
Yeah, Gorson's had some great at-bats this tournament as well. One of these super freshmen starting in this Bruin lineup, but it looks like Texas infield backed off just a couple of steps. They're playing halfway up the middle and around towards first base.
Good pitch.
Whitehead dots the glove on the outside corner. Yeah, Gorson's looking for something out over the plate that he can get to the outfield. Trying to score the speedy Yates from third base.
This will be deep enough to score a run, if not more. Kennedy back, leaping high, can't make the play. It knocked out a panel in the scoreboard. It's a double for Gorson. Yates scores, and the Bruins lead 4-1. In any other ballpark, this may have been a fly out and a sac fly, but Kennedy just ran out of room back against the fence.
That's exactly right, Brett, and you can see where the ball hit. With that second row of scorekeeping blocks that got knocked out. It's a valiant effort to get up, but the ball just knocks the panel out.
It did.
Sure enough.
It's like when you go to the carnival and they give you 3 throws for $1 and you try and knock the block out of the wall.
Well, that's going to be it for Ace Whitehead, and so Texas will go to their bullpen for the 3rd time. Now down 4-1, and still no outs in the inning.
And there it is. Looks like there's some wiring or something back there where that panel got knocked out.
It's not an electric scoreboard. It's actually a manual-based scoreboard. You have to put the number blocks in.
Yeah, that would be an inning. That'd probably be a final. Or
there you go.
A run. We'll have a pitching change back in a moment.
No matter who you are, and actually no matter what the year of car you're driving, there's nothing like the Sewell customer service. Everything is seamless and everything is well calculated, well thought out. I would love to think that it's just me, but I know that they do this for every customer. I'm a Sewell customer for life.
Discover our wide variety of new and certified pre-owned vehicles at Sewell Cadillac.
Behold, unlimited wireless for only $30. That's pretty cool. But you know what's cooler?
Saving up to $400?
Exactly. And if we really want to take it up a notch, get all that and nationwide 5G included. Ooh, nice shot. Send that to me.
I got you.
Break free from the big three and get connected to the nation's most reliable 5G network.
Get the new Samsung Galaxy S22 series on Xfinity Mobile. And right now, save big with up to $750 off a new Samsung device. Switch today.
Nerds. Hey, we got to get you geared up, superfan.
Game on. Let's compare here to there. Compare credit cards to find one that earns you cash back on jerseys that fuel the fandom. Compare and find a financial advisor so you can spend less time watching your investments and more time investing in your team.
Hit me. Whoa!
Compare your way there. Find the smartest financial products for you on NerdWallet.
Get ready for 2022 by checking out the Astros team store in Union Station. You can stop by Monday through Saturday for the latest Astros merchandise. Visit astros.com/team store for more information. 4th Longhorn pitcher of the game is on. Daniel Blair.
Yeah, good numbers to start the season and making his 4th appearance. You see the stats. Blair, a 6'3", 205-pound redshirt junior out of Peachtree City, Georgia, by way of Winthrop and Spartanburg Methodist. He's a transfer addition to this bullpen, and so far having a solid start for the Horns.
"17 games last year for Winthrop. Those 10 starts, that was actually over a couple of years, 2020, 2021.
Inside move to second, Gorson back.
A triple and a double to start the Bruins' 6th inning. Texas again had outscored their opponents 85-13 coming into play today, but trailing 4-1 here this afternoon.
Now Daniel Blair, fastball sits low 90s, slider and a changeup.
It's a foul tip, and that's a strike.
One of those high spin fastballs. If you're Malachi Knight, you got to be looking for a pitch that you can hit to the right side. Try to advance Gorson to third base. Good breaking pitch. That's a slider from Blair. Front door off of the elbow of Knight. He's up in the count.
Two and two the count.
Let's see if Blair comes back to that slider. He really froze Knight on the pitch before the fastball down. I think that's the pitch you get him out with.
Here's Blair's 2-2. Lifted in the air to right field. Todd underneath it. Gorson ready to tag. And he will not attempt it. And there's one out here in this 6th inning. Give us a chance to introduce Alyssa, a patient ambassador, who stopped up. How are you?
A lot of fun coming to the games this weekend. So.
Where are you from?
I'm from Kyle. It's just south of Austin, Texas.
Okay. It's a home game for you then, in some senses,
pretty
compared
close.
to some of the other ambassadors.
Yeah, definitely. Some of them had to travel pretty far to get here, so we're very lucky to have them.
We're lucky to have you up here in the booth, and tell us your story with Shriners.
So I actually found out I had scoliosis in December of 2019. I had a really severe curve, and they told me I needed to have surgery. When we first went to a specialist in our area, they told us it was going to be 7 or 8 months, almost October of 2020, before I'd be able to have my surgery. And at the time, my grandpa was a Shriner, and he still is. And so when we called him and told him what was going on, he said, well, why don't you go to Shriners?
There you go. Would make sense from grandfather.
So we ended up making an appointment with Shriners, and I had my surgery in February of 2020, just 2 months after I was diagnosed. We went out for a preoperative appointment 2 weeks before, and they were just so kind and caring. They explained everything to me and really made me feel comfortable having the surgery.
And which hospital?
Shreveport.
Okay. Darius Perry, the batter, and Alyssa again, the patient ambassador, joining us up in the booth as the Bruins bat in the top of the 6th inning.
Well, listen, we were talking to Mia earlier, and she suffered from the same condition, scoliosis. And walk us through the process. What did you have to go through, and what did Shriners do for you?
So with me, since I found out I had scoliosis when I was 13 and my growth plates were almost fully closed already, I didn't have to go through some of those same procedures that Mia did with the bracing and some of the other preventative procedures because mine was already so advanced. So when I went to Shriners, we got some imaging done, and then I found out I had to have a spinal fusion. which they put screws in your vertebrae and then put a metal rod through all the screws and straighten the metal rod out with your spine.
Oh, wow.
And then they break off small pieces of bone so that it forms into one large, like, fused vertebrae.
Man, it sounds like a long recovery process.
So I actually, it was about a year before I could do everything I wanted to do again, but within that year, I mean, I could still, you know, go to school and pretty much fine after about a month or two.
It's a breaking ball for strike 3 called. Melissa, we saw the image on the screen of you with the Texas Longhorns as we see this pitch from Blair for strike 3. You got to spend a day with the Horns. What was that like? Tell us.
So we went to the stadium, and when we were there, I mean, the coach and their second baseman, Mitchell Daly, greeted us. And I met the whole team, got to give them a little introduction for me and my story. And we spent the day, watched their practice, and toured their facility, which was truly amazing. I mean, their weight room is something else.
I bet it is. Now, did you walk away with a different perspective on college sports, or how did that affect you, just being with the Horns for a day?
I mean, I never really watched baseball or understood it before, if I'm going to be honest. But when I went there, it was kind of interesting to see all the behind-the-scenes stuff, the pitch lab, and to kind of understand how all the stats work and how they improve. So it was pretty interesting, and it kind of got me interested in the sport because, you know, now that I know the team, it's more personal, and I really want to root for them and watch all their games
So you've become a fan.
Yes, even more than I already was.
Would certainly be a fun program to visit. The #1 ranked Texas Longhorns on the ropes a little bit here today, 4-1 as Alyssa joins us up in the booth, one of the many patient ambassadors we've had a chance to visit with this weekend. And I got to believe you enjoy talking with some of the different people that we've had a chance to visit with as well.
Oh, yes. The national ambassadors, Mia and Sydney, they've truly welcomed me as one of their own and made me feel very comfortable here with everything. And this is my first big event with Shriners, so it really is something amazing.
More to come, I got a feeling. You're a pretty good spokesperson as well.
I hope so.
2 balls and a strike here, and that one will be fouled back.
Yeah, so listen, what have you most enjoyed about being here in Houston at this big event?
I mean, yesterday's LSU game was really something. The crowd that we had and the energy in the stadium was just electrifying. It really was great to see that many people come out and support Shriners and come and support the cause and support the players. It really was great.
We second that because it was just a fantastic night for Shriners, for college baseball, showcased around the country, and just creating more awareness as well for Shriners, which I think is fantastic.
That's always amazing. Anyone we can get to understand what happened, maybe we can get another kid who went through the same thing I did, who maybe doesn't have a connection with Shriners, to understand that that is a possibility for them, and they are there to help.
Great words, Alyssa. That's we see the benefit of being here with this tournament, seeing the excitement that brings, but also the great work that Shriners does. Thank you for being a great communicator about that.
Yep.
That's Alyssa. We'll wave goodbye. She did a great job, as did Blair to end that inning.
Watch me pirouette with style and grace.
Watch me roam, discover, explore.
I feel pretty. I must be a star. They helped me come a long way. I'll show you how far. Watch me.
For 100 years, we've watched in awe as our commitment to transformative care continues to bring positive change to kids everywhere. Today, our brand is evolving too. Shriners Children's, the most amazing care anywhere.
Watch me. Here I stand on my own 2 feet. Jump shot intact, here to compete. Skilled hands were there to mend the bone, from loving halls that brought me home. My world stopped with a drive through the lane. Now give me the ball. You'll remember my name. Watch me. Orthopedic excellence at Shriners Children's. The most amazing care anywhere.
Nerds. Chloe and Rennie went down the sand dunes.
We need a real adventure.
Let's make it real. Compare travel credit cards that help you book adventures beyond your backyard. Or compare cashback cards and turn everyday purchases into your next unforgettable experience. Compare your way there. Find the smartest financial products for you on NerdWallet.
The Shriners Children's College Classic is a tradition that unites athletic excellence and the most amazing care anywhere. Shriners Children's is dedicated to improving the lives of children with orthopedic conditions, burns, spinal cord injuries, and cleft lip and palate. All care is provided regardless of a family's ability to pay. So to learn more, visit shrinerschildrens.org today. Pat, these Texas Longhorns are in a position they have not found themselves yet this season.
Yeah, you're exactly right, Brett. It's, I think, a good chance for David Pierce to see how this team will respond, being down now as we enter into the later stages of this game. But, down by only 3 runs, certainly not impossible. And the guy that has been the catalyst for a number of runs and run production for the Horns, Douglas Hodo III, will lead it off.
71 pitches for Kelly Austin. He's induced a fly up from Hodo to right and left.
Yeah, been pretty efficient as well, but we saw last inning just him getting stronger. Struck out Messenger, Faltini, and Schussler. Got 6 in a row retired.
Since that home run from Melendez in the 4th, which has been the only blemish so far in his 5 strong innings.
Kelly Austin has worked the bottom of that strike zone really well today, and even when the Horns have had something out over the plate to swing at, it's usually been down in the zone. He made one mistake. Ivan Melendez caught a fastball up and in and killed it.
Hit one of the bayou if the roof was open.
That's right.
"17 base hits already this season for Hodo. It's going to be back and out of play. It's a unique schedule for this #1 ranked Longhorn team. Tuesday and Wednesday, they're going to play Texas State. Once in San Marcos, once in Austin. A Texas State team that went to Tucson and won a series against the Wildcats. And then they're going to go on the road to South Carolina for 3, to the College of Charleston, and to the Citadel. That's a lot of road games.
Yeah. You don't usually see Texas get too far away from Austin, especially early in the season. But good job of getting out on the road and getting your players road tested. You're going to need it when you get to conference play.
5-game South Carolina road trip.
That could be almost a semi-vacation out there.
2 balls, 2 strikes, the count to Hodo. Fouled back again.
Well, 3rd time around the lineup here for Kelly Austin and the Bruins, and Hodo making it difficult to get that first out. He has fouled off a couple of really good deliveries. He is keeping the at-bat alive, and that's what you like to see from your leadoff hitter. Spoil some good pitches.
Bruins are hoping they had strike 3.
Yeah, Darius Perry popped up like he had it, but did not get the call. Kelly Austin's misses have been just like that most of the day. It's either 1 or 2 inches off the plate, or he's been changing the eye level a bit with his fastball up in the zone, but he has been around it with great command.
Malachi Knight in center, waiting for this one to descend. Kelly Austin won that lengthy battle to begin the 6th. Eric Kennedy steps in. He struck out both times he's faced Kelly Austin. Austin has not walked a single Longhorn. Again, this team led the country last year in walks. Part of getting base runners aboard, and even when Hodo made him work, still was able to win the battle.
I think John Savage is going to walk away from this tournament feeling very pleased about his pitching staff. Got the complete game from Jake Brooks on Friday night. It was a 2-1 loss to Baylor, but Brooks looked awfully good. And Max Rajic yesterday went 3 1/3, kind of battled a little bit, scuffled through those 3 1/3. Got great bullpen work from Flanagan and Hurd. And then today, his number 3 starter, Kelly Austin, is delivering a gem.
You talk about great pitching tradition down through the years. Both of these programs would be raising their hand. It's certainly not just Texas, also UCLA. All their great arms. And you'd almost kind of like to take Coach Savage out to dinner late one night, have a couple of beverages, and just say, tell me about Garrett Cole and Trevor Bauer.
There you go. Well, he's had a litany of pitchers make it to that next level. And of course, those are the 2 headliners. And you talk about a guy that knows how to develop a pitching staff. Very similar in terms of coaching contrast with David Pierce. David Pierce did not start out as a, so to speak, pitching coach. He's kind of developed into one, but also hired Sean Allen. And Sean really has done a tremendous job recruiting and developing pitchers at Texas. And so I'd say both of these programs really good schools at taking young pitchers, developing them into professional caliber arms.
Good look at Savage. Those 2 guys I mentioned. Garrett Cole was the first overall pick in the draft, and Trevor Bauer was a Golden Spikes winner. Count's gone full.
One of the very few 3-ball counts that Kelly Austin's had today.
Off the hands is fouled back. Just finished that thought on Coach Savage, though. The number of head coaches in college baseball that have won a College World Series title, produced the first overall pick in the MLB draft, and had at least 1 Golden Spikes winner includes Coach Savage, along with Skip Bertman, Jim Brock, Augie Garrido, Tim Corbin of Vanderbilt, and Jim Morris of Miami.
That's a pretty good class of coaches. I had a chance to play for 2 of those guys, Jim Morris and Skip Bertman, and that's an outstanding fact right there.
There's the first walk of the game. Kennedy had to really earn that one. And this was Ivan Melendez back in the 4th inning.
Yeah, the only offense Texas has had all day, and it was on 1 swing. And
still haven't found that baseball.
That ball hit somewhere up on the glass behind the railroad tracks. Not sure exactly where it landed, but that was a bomb. And
balls will rattle around and drop through and land back down in that home run alley out there, but we can't see it if they do.
John Savage out for a visit. We'll see if he is going to make a change, and he is. That'll be the day for Kelly Austin, and what a day it's been.
86 pitches in after 5 1/3 innings. He will be done. Bruins go to the bullpen. 4-1 UCLA lead.
I'm over comedy. I just want to get in more dramatic roles.
Eric, you don't have any dramatic work to show them.
Yeah, but I got the new Galaxy S22 Ultra on Verizon 5G Ultra Wideband. It's got amazing video on a crazy fast network. I can film whatever I want.
Can you cry on command?
No, but I can download the notebook really fast.
Can you film me while I'm crying?
Now at Verizon, buy the Galaxy S22 Ultra and get the S22 Plus on us. 5G Ultra Wideband, now in many more cities.
I feel like they've just... ASMR. ASMR.
We're pulling internet out of your room. Sonic double stuffed Oreo waffle cone and blast.
You're getting cut off.
Oh, here it go. Okay.
Come seek the Royal Caribbean.
H-Town High School. Sports. The excitement. The emotion. The passion.
Showtime, man.
Unrivaled coverage.
We fight for the right to play this week. We cannot give up.
Only on H-Town High School Sports with Todd Freed.
See it right here on AT&T Sportsnet.
New pitcher is Luke Jewett out of the Bruins bullpen.
A good look at Jewett taking his warm-up pitches, and he has had an outstanding start in 2022, making his 6th appearance of the season already. He's got 7 innings of work, only giving up 2 hits, 1 walk, and 4 strikeouts.
He's another J. Serra product.
He stands 6'4", 200 from Ladera Ranch, California. He is a true freshman. He is establishing himself very quickly as part of that back end bullpen for these Bruins.
Here comes Melendez again. That long home run is 3rd of the year and a strikeout.
Jewett will sit low 90s with the fastball, curveball, changeup. Coach Savage says he'll just come right at you. Fastball is downhill and firm.
That was firm. Just not downhill. Longhorns have never led in this game, trailing 4-1 late, getting towards the later portions.
Right-hander is only hitting .083 against Jewett. There's the breaking pitch.
Did he swing? No, sir. On the appeal, Doug Williams says he checked.
Good hold by Melendez. And it's a nasty pitch. A lot of bite down in the zone, and he held up. Gets himself into an advantage 2-0 count. He'll be sitting fastball. Let's see where Jewett delivers.
Upstairs again. I don't know if we've seen a pitcher come out of the bullpen and really be locked in for 3 or 4 pitches.
Not pumping strikes. Well, you know, especially these freshman pitchers coming in, they've got that just a pure adrenaline rush on the mound, especially in a tight ball game like this. And most of these guys are used to being starters and get a little settling in time. Well, not out of the pen. You've got to come in and be settled in, ready to go. And that's a nice strike there that cuts the plate in half by Jewett. You got to believe that there's one guy in the lineup you don't want to allow beat you late. It's Melendez, but you also don't want to walk him. It's bring up the tying run to the plate.
It's gone from 3-0 to 3-2.
This is power on power.
Kennedy runs, ripped, but a mile foul. That thing just disappeared as well.
Yeah, that's the pitch you have to stay away from with Melendez. He is sitting dead fastball, middle in. He gets another one in. Good news for Jewett was that ball was just running in a little bit too hard where
you're right.
Melendez couldn't keep it straight.
Been a few more inches over the plate.
Yeah, you got to be thinking down here. Something down in the strike zone.
Walked him again. Longwords hadn't received a walk all game, and they've had 2 in a row, and all of a sudden that brings the timer into the plate.
And this is what this Texas offense does so well. They just take what a pitcher gives them. And we talked about, Brett, the Bruins have pitched a really clean game up to this point, and this is how Texas gets back into ball games right here.
Silas Ardoin, the DH, will be the next man in. Quick meeting on the mound right now for UCLA.
Yeah, a chance for Darius Perry to slow the game down a bit. Some more activity in that UCLA bullpen. Well, you never know how pitchers react until you throw them out there. And Jewett has shown good command up to this point.
Ardoin represents the tying run. Up in the zone again.
When you're missing up like that, you've just really got to force yourself through that arm slot. Get the ball out in front. Make the adjustment. If you have to, change your eye level, change the target, look down at the catcher's feet. Good breaking ball.
Indeed.
Jewett stepping off the mound, getting the call from his second baseman, Gorson. He signals in to the pitcher whether he wants a pickoff play at second or not.
Kennedy at second, Melendez aboard at first.
He's just not making the adjustment with the fastball.
He's not.
See if he goes right back to the slider. That's a pitch he's been able to get down in the zone. Staying on top of that pitch pretty well. Let's see if Savage gives him the breaking ball. Nope, stayed hard and just missed again.
Well, a walk would load him up with 3 consecutive base on balls.
Here's a look at Alonzo Treadwell. Coming loose for the Bruins.
Fastball for a strike at 94.
Silas Ardoin says, okay, I'll take my chances with a man who will throw 2 of those in a row. Texas hitters not afraid to take pitches, even when they have an advantage count, like a 3-1 count like you just saw. They put more pressure on the pitcher to try to replicate that pitch.
And the payoff. Strike 3 call.
Yeah, Silas Ardoin and the Texas fans are not going to agree with that call. Taking a look at it. Yeah, you see
Close
Darius
enough,
Perry
isn't it?
kind of reach out a bit, but he was set up down the middle. So get a little bit of latitude with him reaching for the pitch, and Hardwan did not agree.
Hardwan, as you could imagine, not happy. But Austin Todd still represents the tying run. 0 for 1 with a sacrifice.
How about Jewett coming back in a 3-1 count and getting 2 strikes? Best opportunity for the Horns all day offensively.
Jewett has 2 more balls thrown than strikes. Goodness gracious, was Austin Todd.
Yeah, mighty cut.
Look at the launch.
He was trying to tie this up with one swing, and gets the fastball middle in he was looking for, and Jewett gets that 94-mile-an-hour fastball right by him.
Kennedy at second, Melendez aboard at first. Both reached on walks this inning from 2 different pitchers. Served foul down the line and right.
Well, the scouting report pretty much right on cue. He got that hard fastball. He comes right at hitters. Not afraid to challenge hitters inner part of the plate either. Austin Todd looking to try to make contact and use that speed.
Can Jewett get out of this inning? Popped out of the glove of Perry, but did not kick away.
Well, Darius Perry did a pretty good job behind the dish today for UCLA. He was one of the top-ranked catchers coming out of high school. Former draft pick of the Colorado Rockies.
That's outside. So the count's gone full. Now these runners will be able to take off on the payoff, and an extra base hit might score them both.
You have to remind his infielders to go get one here. Well, another payoff pitch. Jewett executed a hitter ago against Hardwan. Can he do it again?
And the 3-2 on the way. Off the hands, fouled right back.
Todd able just to get a piece of that. Might have been ball 4, but one of those pitches is just too close to take. And for Austin Todd, got to be sitting fastball here. Got to get that bat head out in front.
Another 3-2 pitch. Hit well to right center field. Malachi Knight circling around it. Somebody's going to call this one, and Knight does. Thought Yates and Knight might collide, but Jewett able to strand a couple of runners. So on we go to the 7th. UCLA in front.
Dion, hand it over. Now, how does that make you feel?
Like a part of me is missing.
Gabrielle?
This Old Spice Fiji hand and body lotion has me smoother than ever.
That's what it does.
Guys, we have an honorary teammate today. Her name is Alyssa. It's cool to have her, and Alyssa, we got you actually this jersey, so here you go.
Shriners was really important for me because I found out I had scoliosis and I needed surgery. About a month later, we contacted the Shriners and they got me in for an appointment to have my surgery.
She had had a growth spurt and all the growth basically came in curved. Her back started hurting. She was in pain all the time. She was tired. She had headaches. So when we took her back for that next appointment, that's when they referred us to the specialist.
You know, after learning a little bit about Shriners, you can just tell that they care about the people. You know, regardless of their ability to pay, they're there to be there for them. It's awesome to know that they're out there doing things like that.
I think when you look at that teammate atmosphere is really something that it seems that she kind of cherishes. And then to adopt her as a teammate with Texas and our baseball team is pretty cool.
Shriners really does help everyone.
Hook 'em!
Well, Troy Tulowitzki had a little bit to say to Seth Buckminster between innings, and he was not happy with that call on Silas Ardwan. And it was a close pitch, full count, but there's the former big leaguer giving Buckminster an earful.
They say Tulo's fully invested. He looked fully invested.
He was fully invested there.
Well, the #1 Texas Longhorns trailing as this game goes into the 7th inning. And we're going to bring on Kendall Rogers, maybe the preeminent writer of college baseball for D1Baseball.com. We've been quoting a lot of their draft rankings over the course of this entire weekend and talk big picture with him. But this is a home game or games for you, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I live about 30 minutes from here, so it's been exciting just to see the crowd last night. 25,000 people here. I mean, it was pretty unbelievable. I think the record in college baseball is 40,000 when they opened Petco Park. I think it was San Diego State and Houston. But other than that, I've never seen a crowd that big, so that was exciting.
It's just great for the sport, and I think there's a lot of people starved for baseball right now. They recognize the popularity of college baseball, and hats off to everybody who was a part of that last night.
Yeah, it was great. Of course, you have two outstanding fan bases, LSU and Texas, but that's what it's all about. That's what makes college baseball pretty special.
Kendall, you guys have done a great job at D1 Baseball. You've really built, I think, it's just a premier go-to site for college baseball fans. And tell us about that journey. I'd just love to hear how you got that thing cranked up.
Yeah, it's been awesome. You know, I started covering college baseball back in the late 90s. Nobody really covered, Big 12 baseball, and I started covering it back in the late 90s. And I just kind of gravitated into a, national job covering college baseball, and now I've been doing it since then.
Jake Palmer retired on the ground out. How have you seen the sport's popularity change maybe over the last 5-10 years?
Oh, it's been crazy. I look back like 15 years ago, and, you never really saw many programs put a lot of money in facilities.
Right.
Now Coastal Carolina has one of the best facilities in college baseball. You've got the Big Ten spending a lot of money on facilities. So that's the main thing that I've noticed is the facilities, the salaries, and things like that have gotten much, much higher in terms of, money put into it. And with that comes higher expectations for the coaches. So that's been a change, too.
No doubt. Cody Schreier, the batter. You guys scout a lot of individual players in addition to teams, so this has been a bonanza. And this is a hard question to answer succinctly, but I'll let you take it whichever direction you want. Who's impressed you? We've had so many top position players. We've seen some incredible pitching performances. There's been no shortage.
Yeah, I think I look at like Tennessee with Chase Burns. I mean, he's one of the more talented, freshmen in college baseball. And to come on this stage on Friday and throw the way that he did up to 98 with his fastball, the big-time cutter, that was really impressive. And you look at Drew Beam for Tennessee earlier today. He was up to 94 with a nice breaking ball as well. So to see those two freshmen for Tennessee pitch the way they did, Brett, I thought was really impressive. I think when you look at Texas with Pete Hansen, just continues to be, Mr. Precision as he always has been. And then you look at Tristan Stevens last night. Tristan's one of those guys that, he is college baseball. He's not going to blow you away with the radar gun, but he's going to pound the zone with strikes, and he put together a great performance in a big-time atmosphere.
Yeah, I was so impressed watching Stevens last night, Kendall. He just kind of wills his way to win a game. And you see that look in his face, that look in his eye, and that's what you love to see as a coach,
Yeah, and it's so big in college baseball. We get so wrapped up in the radar gun and things like that. But, I mean, you're talking about a guy who, last year was a little bit more up to 93, 94. This year, more kind of 90, 92. And, David Pierce was telling me after the game that they've kind of stressed, hey, lay off the radar gun a little bit. Worry about your stuff. And it's really kind of paid off for him.
Sure, it's working for him.
The count's going full to Schreier. I think you wrote this last night, but it was a guy that was a little bit irritated with the draft last year. And I think you see that in college baseball, guys who maybe a couple of years ago envisioned an opportunity that hasn't been there. Everything's been disrupted, and a lot of guys trying to show some people some things.
Yeah, I mean, it's like anything in life, right? You have a setback, and it's kind of how do you respond from that? And I think when you look at Tristan Stevens, he goes undrafted after the year he had last year. What does he do? He comes back, and he's been as strong as he ever has been in his career. So testament to him and kind of his hard-nosed kind of approach.
Kendall, what I've enjoyed watching in this tournament especially, you've got the great pitching from Texas. You've had the great lineups from both Tennessee and LSU. Just great college baseball around. But what are you seeing early on that kind of gives you an indication of which of these teams will emerge as World Series type teams?
Yeah, I think when you look at Texas, I mean, they're the total package, right? Obviously, they don't have Tanner Witt today, but, you've seen some of their younger arms. I think, when you look at the rotation offensively, they're just put together very well, top to bottom, that lineup.
Here's a ball dumped out into center field. Hoda will play the bounce. His throw to third is cut off, and there's Bruins on the corners with one gone.
I've been encouraged by UCLA today, or the last 2 days, really. I mean, you look at the power from Carson Yates, Cody Schreier, a talented freshman, has been really good for them. I think UCLA is one of those clubs that's young right now. They're going to continue to get better as the season progresses. I think for me, the team that's kind of stood out as maybe a little bit better than I expected is Tennessee. Yeah. I just think when you look at those guys on the mound, they've got a lot of options. Offensively, I thought, Jake Rucker, Christian Moore, I mean, they've got 12, 13 guys in their offensive lineup they can count on. Even Blake Burke comes off the bench today and hits a bomb.
And some depth,
I mean, they've got a lot of depth pitching and offensively. And, again, that's a testament to the job that Tony's done. They are not skipping a beat.
I don't know how many outs they had today that were line drives or bullets to the outfield. And, I know LSU has a fantastic core 4, core 5 of hitters, but you put those lineup and what those guys will do this year against Tennessee, it's going to be fun to watch.
It really is, and I feel great about LSU's offense. Obviously, they're going to be very offensive this year, but I will say, it'll be interesting to see how their week in rotation evolves. Obviously, we feel pretty good about Blake Money, but, Ty Floyd, I thought last night was just okay. Yeah. We'll see what kind of start they get today, but I think for me, outside of that Blake Money role on Friday night, the question for me with LSU is they're going to hit, but, how are they going to pitch outside of Money?
Dalen Reyes, the batter, with Bruins on the corners and one out here in the 7th inning. Kendall Rogers, D1 Baseball, up talking about some of the big storylines this weekend and really over the first 3 weeks in college baseball.
Yeah, I felt coming in, Kendall, I agree with you. I felt coming in at Tennessee had some question marks with their staff, and the same as LSU, but Tennessee's going to emerge from this weekend, I think, with some of those question marks probably answered more so than LSU.
Oh, there's no doubt. I mean, I think the biggest question for me with Tennessee is, Ben Joyce is out here throwing 100 to 102 miles per hour, and, he's out there for 2 batters. So, I kind of want to see, can they extend him a little bit? And I think that's why you saw him in a limited role today. I think Tony wanted to see how does he respond after throwing yesterday.
Exactly
how does he bounce back a day later? And so, Ben Joyce obviously is going to be a big storyline as the season progresses with his big-time fastball.
I'm hoping events like this and televising this across the country just exposes a guy like that to people that maybe don't know he hit 104 earlier this year or can consistently hit 101.
Yeah, what's been really interesting is we talk about the evolution of college baseball, but just in the evolution of baseball in general, I point to Rod Freeman, the pitching ninja on Twitter, he's been blowing up Ben Joyce the last couple of weeks, and that's kind of, we talk about different avenues for baseball and promotion of baseball. Rod's been a huge part of that, not only at the collegiate level, but also at the minor league level and certainly the pro level.
There's no doubt he had some fun with our guy Kevin Kopps in Arkansas last year.
Didn't we all? Except for opposing team, didn't have a lot of fun with Kevin Kopps.
Well, let's turn SEC off for a moment. I'm just going to hurt Brett's feelings over there. But let's turn to Big 12. What do you see in the Big 12? Obviously, Texas, top of the class there, but Oklahoma State looks pretty strong this year.
Yeah, I mean, the Cowboys are going to be really good. I mean, obviously, they lost the series to Gonzaga this weekend. Gonzaga's a really talented team, though I think when you look at yesterday, Will Kempner for Gonzaga. Keep it out. We talk about power arms. Will Kempner from a sidearm angle was up to 99-100 yesterday. From a sidearm angle. There's a video on Twitter of it. It's kind of crazy, but, obviously they lost that series. But I think Oklahoma State, when you look at Justin Campbell in the front of that rotation, I think they've got a chance to be a national championship contender. I think TCU, even though they had a tough weekend at Kentucky, I think Kirk Sarloos has done a nice job with that team so far. When you look at that rotation with guys like Austin Krob, I think Cam Brown, who's a midweek starter now, I think he will find his way in the rotation. He was to 98 last week and was electric. So they've got a lot of options, from a pitching standpoint. Braden Taylor's a great hitter. And then I think you look at the rest of that league. Obviously, Oklahoma's going to have to bounce back. I think Chaz Martinez is a lot better than what you guys saw today. Yep. He was really good at Globe Live. I think David Sandlin was really good at Globe Live. He's going to be better, but Oklahoma's going to have to hit a little bit more. And then Baylor, in the nightcap, I'm really intrigued to see the Bears tonight because I think Baylor is actually a pretty solid club. I think Tyler Thomas was really good on Friday. And it's just a matter of time before Jared McKenzie kind of gets on a roll. I mean, McKenzie's an elite hitter. He just hasn't figured it out just yet. So that's an exciting league. Texas Tech, kind of the last thing to talk about here. I think Texas Tech's one of those teams that, offensively they haven't kind of put it all together. They did do it this weekend. Granted, it's Merrimack. It's a new Division I team. But, Tim Tadlock's team has a few more question marks than they have had in the past.
Right. Yep, I agree with that analysis, Kendall. You act like you know what you're talking about.
Sometimes I do. Even though I do hate all teams according to fans.
Yes. There's a wave and a miss. You know what I like about that, Kendall, though, is you give the good, the bad, and the ugly. And I think that's from an analysis standpoint, that's what you want. You want somebody to tell you the truth. Don't candy coat stuff when it doesn't need to be there.
Yeah, exactly. That's
what Runes is for.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, Mike Rooney will never say a bad word about anybody. So yeah, that's what Mike Rooney is for.
Yeah, you love Runes, man. He's one of the best. But you're exactly right. I want somebody to tell me what you're seeing and tell me why. Give me the justification for it.
Carson Yates, the batter, he's come into this tournament, hit a couple of home runs, hit a triple earlier today, singled, came in with 4 hits all year. He's had 4 hits in these last couple of games and a chance to add to this 4-1 UCLA lead. How about the Pac-12 having a conference tournament this year?
I like it. The Pac-12 coaches are going to get mad at me because I think a lot of them don't really want a tournament. But I actually really like the conference tournament. I think back to Jay Johnson a few years ago to Arizona. Arizona is one of the hottest teams in college baseball. Yeah. They won like 11 straight games. But they didn't have a conference tournament, and had they had a conference tournament, they could have played 2 or 3 more games. Probably would have gotten the final day of that tournament. And they didn't get in because they don't have a conference tournament. So I think anytime you can play more games when everybody else is doing the same, you should do it.
Yeah. And I think that's a conference that needs as many eyeballs on them as possible.
Yes.
Blair trying to end this inning. Strand a couple of Bruins in scoring position. 0-2 the count to Carson Yates.
Kendall, I love Carson Yates' swing. Just really nice compact swing with some pop.
That's another league I really like. I think the Pac-12 this year is fascinating. I think UCLA, again, I think they're going to be really good by the end of the season. They played well these last 2 days.
They have.
But, Oregon State, Mitch Canham's done a great job with Oregon State. They have one of the top freshmen in the country in Travis Bazzana. You look at Arizona. They lost a series at Texas State this past weekend, the Fighting Bobcats. But, that was a club I liked a couple of weeks ago at Globe Life.
1-2. Front door breaking ball, strike 3. And Blair gets a couple of strikeouts to end the 7th. We'll keep Kendall for another half. It is a 4-1 UCLA lead over the number 1 Texas Longhorns.
Move over, KFC. It's KFC Tenders. And the same creamy mac and cheese, crispy fries, buttery biscuits, and delicious sauces. The KFC 8-piece Tenders meal. Get free delivery on the KFC app. It's finger-licking good.
Go beyond the court with Rockets All Access, your backstage pass to the team all season long, with exclusive player interviews, detailed team analysis, and more. Rockets All Access. New episodes every Wednesday on AT&T Sportsnet.
Coverage of the Shriners Children's College Classic is brought to you by Frio. Great tasting American Pilsner light beer. American owned, American brewed. Texas trailing 4-1 as the Longhorns get ready to bat in the bottom of the 7th. It'll be Staley, Messenger, and Faltini. Kendall Rogers of D1 Baseball joining us. And If you're just tuning in, we touched on last night's crowd of nearly 25,000 here for Texas and LSU. I don't know what the next month is going to hold, Kendall, for Major League Baseball or beyond, but I do sense a tremendous opportunity to expose this college game to an even bigger set of eyes.
Yeah, it's a really interesting dynamic. You know, when you look at college baseball, obviously people just assume, well, with Major League Baseball being locked out, that's going to be great for college baseball. Yeah, you know what, in the short term, yeah, it's probably good for college baseball. In the long term, it's not good for college baseball because as you get these kind of situations, I think more and more people kind of get turned off at baseball in general. You know, players even at the lower levels might even get a little turned off at baseball. So I think from a long-term standpoint, like, it's not good for either. But short term, yeah, you're right. It is good for college baseball.
Still don't know what the draft may look like. There's other issues. And, Pat, we've talked about this a lot. Never has this sport been older, more backlogged. Guys who are still playing that 2 years ago thought they were going to have an opportunity at the next level.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And, Kendall, I'd love to hear more of your take on that, too. But it's not good for the college level to have 25, 26-year-old players still playing in college.
Yeah, I'm always one of those people like, hey, if you're draft eligible after a couple of years, you can get $1 million or more dollars, you need to sign.
Murphy Staley is going to roll one up the middle, backhanded by Gorson. He'll have no play. So the Longhorns have their leadoff runner on in the bottom of the seventh inning.
You know, we were talking about UCLA's freshman earlier. The lead drew at the last inning. You know, he gets in that high leverage situation, gets a strikeout, and then ends the inning. You know, he was 93, 94. So UCLA just has, 6, 7 really talented freshmen on this roster.
This was a team that lost 10 players to the draft last year, which is a big number for any Power 5 program, and then have to do it with top-notch recruits.
Yeah, I like what you said, though, Kendall, because UCLA does have a lot of upside. I think out of any team here, this is the team that could definitely get a lot better during the course of the season. And we'll see what John Savage wants to do here on his way back out to the mound.
I think he's going to make a call to the bullpen, or did he just bring in the infielders? We'll find out. It's a 4-1 game in the bottom of the seventh inning at Minute Maid. One more game to come later on tonight. And this has been a tremendous field. I think they're probably going to break an all-time attendance record at some point. And it's always great to have some of these blue bloods like UCLA, like Texas and LSU here, and see an upstart like Tennessee as well.
Yeah, no doubt. Tennessee, it's really interesting when you look at Tennessee, like their culture has totally changed. You know, Tony's created kind of a hard-nosed culture. Their fans have really embraced it. So you look at those guys, and certainly there's a lot of excitement in Baton Rouge with the Jay Johnson era. And you have the University of Texas. You know, they always have great fans as well.
Tony Vitello's a fun guy to talk to, isn't he?
He is interesting. He is interesting. No, Tony's a really good coach, and you know he's just a fiery guy. Like it's kind of one of those guys you either love him or hate him. And a lot of people love him, a lot of people hate him. But like he is hard nosed, and his players, like that attitude just kind of permeates to everybody on their roster.
Yeah.
So you know they get a little chippy, but I kind of like it.
Just the depth of that lineup we talked about, with a number of guys barreling up baseballs and throwing a guy today who hadn't played in a couple of days, and he almost hits for the cycle.
Yeah. Amazing job by that entire Tennessee offense after they got shut down Friday night. I guess that Texas pitching staff, Pete Hansen, but great bounce back couple of wins for the Vols.
Can we see a mid-major this year? Could we see a mid-major go deep in the postseason, maybe even get to Omaha this year?
Yeah, you absolutely could. Scott Jackson's done a great job at Liberty. Liberty's a ranked team right now. I think when you look at the Sun Belt, Southern Miss is a high-quality club. We talk about power arms here in this tournament. They've got a right-hander by the name of Hurston Waldrop, who was up to 98 a couple weeks ago. They get a big series win over Louisiana this weekend, so keep an eye on USM. And then Tulane, I don't know if I'd call them kind of a mid-major, but I would call them kind of a high mid-major. Tulane gets a series win over Mississippi State this weekend. And Mississippi State is one of those teams right now kind of spinning its wheels a little bit. And with the injury of Landon Sims, their first-team All-American, be very intrigued to see how the defending champs kind of handle that.
They had a one-run win against Grambling a couple of days back, which was interesting.
Lost to Northern Kentucky on a Friday. They had to come back in the second game to win that series. Not easy when the target's on your back.
It's true. And Pat Alonzo Treadwell is the new pitcher now for the Bruins here in the bottom of the seventh inning, inheriting a runner and nobody out. See his numbers on the season, a 3.18 earned run average, just 1 walk and 12 strikeouts.
Brett, I'm disappointed we haven't even talked about your Hogs.
Well,
that's it. Speaking of teams, I'll be very intrigued to see how they kind of figure it out and how soon they figure it out. I mean, Arkansas, preseason number 2 team in the country, they have not been very offensive, but you gotta figure that guys like Brady Slavens and the young talent Peyton Stovall, you gotta feel like they're gonna figure it out at some point.
A team that led the nation in home runs last year with 109 and was the unanimous number 1 amongst all the polls for the bulk of the season, but did not get to Omaha. They were knocked out by NC State, and to me that was one of the stories last year. Unfortunately, when you guys were in Omaha, the Wolfpack not being able to finish out their run.
Yeah, we talk about the parity in college baseball. Pat mentions it about all the old players in college baseball, but it's really created a lot of parity. I mean, you look at the Ivy League and the success that league's had.
They've had a bunch of wins this year.
Penn goes on the road, and I know Texas fans will be happy to hear about this, but Penn goes on the road, takes a series from Texas A&M a couple weeks ago.
This could be 2 off the bat of Messenger. 4-6, 3 double play. Harvard's been doing some damage across town at Rice this weekend.
Yeah, a lot of teams have been doing some damage across town, though.
Well, that's true.
Yeah, it's going to be a little bit of a tougher getting process. But, looking around the country, Northeastern went on the road and swept number 8 NC State. Speaking of the Wolfpack, they swept NC State on the road this weekend. So North Dakota State was given Long Beach State, who, by the way, took a series to Mississippi State opening weekend.
And then lost to Sac State.
They can handle. And Sac State loses 3 out of 4 to HBU. Speaking of, I was just texting back and forth with Lance Burtman. That's a huge series win for Lance Burtman and the Huskies.
There's Trey Faltini.
Well, how about Alonzo Treadwell comes in, another one of those great freshman arms here at UCLA. And first pitch, fastball, double play ball. It'll be a little low 90s arm for John Savage. Curveball slider combination. Curveball has some pretty good depth to it. But you got to love some of these power arms that Savage has brought in and already have a pretty good idea how to pitch.
Hitting a double play, the first batter he faces doesn't hurt. And the count to Faltini now, a ball and a strike. We referenced the boom box. You had some Trey Faltini love.
I need the boom box. I don't know if I need the hook 'em horns on it. I need the boom box. I'm an unbiased observer.
Yeah, that's top shelf right there to haul that thing around each and every day.
Yeah, it takes some effort. You think about the earbuds and the headsets that these guys all use now. Then,
oh, man.
You got Faltini walking around with that 25-pound boom box.
Faltini is a perfect guy to be walking around with the boom box. Like that's just who he is.
You got to love it.
Base is empty, 2 outs in the bottom of the 7th. Comeback. Handled nicely by Treadwell. That will end the inning. Kendall, thanks for stopping by.
You got it, guys. Enjoyed it.
On we go to the 8th inning. UCLA trying to take down Texas for the first time this season.
Every road has its challenges. We say, bring them on. At Honda, we engineer each vehicle to outthink obstacles, to overcome difficult conditions. We engineer them for drivers who are determined to power through, just like you are. Rise to the challenge with the rugged performance of the Honda Ridgeline, Pilot, and CR-V.
I don't think I can do this. You said you wanted to feel the Power Cricket 5G. I thought you meant like live streaming. Oh, we're live streaming, all right. Let's roll. Smile, you're on Cricket.
5-hour energy, because it's time to hit the gym and work up a sweat. And you're gonna need some energy, lots of energy. 5-hour energy for every workout.
Here's a look back at yesterday's action at the Shriners Children's College Classic. Presented by Perfect Game, UCLA had the run rule win over Oklahoma in 7 innings. Baylor had a 4-0 lead against Tennessee. The Vols came back to win 10-5. And then that nightcap in front of the massive crowd. Texas taking down LSU 6-1. So Thanks to Perfect Game for their support of the Shriners Children's Team Captions program. Had a game earlier today, and it was Tennessee taking down Oklahoma, shutting out the Sooners 8-0. Still waiting for an outcome here, but Pat, the Bruins trying to shorten this game and knock off the Longhorns.
Yeah, they're starting to feel it. About 6 outs away, but the offense gets to come up first here in the top of the 8th. But Coy Cobb now making his season debut for the Horns. The 6'4" junior out of Katy, Texas, Katy High School, local product. And the sidearm slinger for the Horns, sinker slider specialist.
Gorson, who's collected a couple of doubles, scored a run, and knocked in a run, will lead off. Rip, but bending foul down the line and right.
Catches the protective netting, and Austin Todd flips it into the stands, making some youngsters happy over there.
Bruins got a run in the 3rd inning, couple of runs in the 5th, one in the 6th. Stranded a pair in scoring position in the 7th. They've out-hit the Longhorns 9-4. Of course, in one of these freshmen, San Diego native, trying to get his 3rd hit of the game.
Well, the Bruins have left 8 men on base.
That's a strike over the inside corner.
Well, Gorson didn't agree, but it looks like a pretty good pitch. Taking a look at it. Fastball just catches the inside corner. And Buckminster brings him up.
Here's Malachi Knight. Ground ball to Faltini. He's so smooth and short, isn't he?
Oh, he really is. Just great footwork, and that glove is spectacular. Really good defensive shortstop and a vocal leader on this team.
Two gone for the catcher, Darius Perry, who drove in the first Bruins run back in the 3rd inning. He takes strike 1. I think there'll be a lot to like about a few of these Longhorns relievers who haven't had much experience this season or many opportunities that were able to get their feet wet today with some success.
Yeah, they've gone deep today, and I think that's an absolute plus for David Pierce and the Horns to take a look at some of these younger arms. Have not had a lot of innings yet.
How about that spinning slider at 74?
Just missed the outside portion of the plate, but yeah, we know how strong the bullpen is. We know how deep it is. But, man, it's just a fight for innings down there. These guys, I mean,
there's no doubt.
On any other pitching staff in the country, these guys are probably getting more work, but you're on probably the best pitching staff in college baseball. And it is a battle for innings, but that's what makes you better. You know, you want more innings, you go compete, you do well, you execute, and you get rewarded. That's how baseball works.
1-2 to Perry. Perry climbs back into that box. Off the hands, fouled back. I think the thought might be, well, you can throw some guys out there in a game where you're trailing by 3 runs. Maybe it's a little bit easier than if you're leading by 3 runs, trying to protect the lead and a win. But I would say for these pitchers on the hill, it probably doesn't matter for them. I mean, that adrenaline's going either way.
Either way, and you're going out there just trying to do your job and make pitch after pitch. And that's often the key to pitching, is try to not think about the situation, and the focus has to be on just making your pitch.
That spinner started at the hip of Perry, and Cobb tried to bring it over the inside corner of the plate.
Yeah, Perry stayed in there with it too. That was pretty impressive. I am in the dugout if that pitch is coming at me.
Would he throw it again? Wow, wave and a miss. Bruins disposed of quickly in the top of the 8th inning. He says, let's go. Get his team up in the bottom of the frame. Longhorns still trailing by 3.
Watch me. Watch me shine with every snap. Born to move fans, to cheer and clap. 2 different legs, that's how I play. One built from science to help me on the day. Between these lines, I'm all heart and muscle. Don't stare too long, you'll miss the hustle. Watch me. Pioneers in prosthetic technology at Shriners Children's. The most amazing care anywhere.
Imagine yourself in a new Toyota.
Awesome.
Cool.
Pass out each of the distribution lists. And Lauren?
Where's Lauren? Did you know that every new Toyota comes with Toyota Safety Sense Standard? A suite of active safety features designed to enhance your overall safety. Learn more at Toyota.com.
Ready, set, go get your Toyota today.
Toyota, let's go places.
You know Miller Lite only has 1 more calorie, right?
Good choice.
With Panera's You Pick 2, every meal is made fantastic. You can be fresh and fun, bold and classic, cozy and precocious. With 465 fresh, clean, craveable pairings, find a You Pick 2 for any mood. Enjoy a $1 delivery fee when you order on our app.
Tours of Minute Maid Park are available now. Come see the ballpark and get a behind-the-scenes look at the ins and the outs of the stadium. From the dugout and the press box to the warning track and manual scoreboard, we guarantee you've never seen Minute Maid Park quite like this. Book your tour today at Astros.com/tours. Came this weekend, Pat would give you a tour of the press box during his 9 games.
Gladly. Although I tend to kind of sit in my corner.
Yeah, you have been stationed there.
Maybe Cameron Dayton, the new hitter.
Got a hit for Schussler to lead off the bottom of the 8th. Just 4 hits today for the Longhorns. First at bat of the year for Dayton. Round Rock kid.
Good fastball by Treadwell. Quickly down 0-2.
Let's go, Scoop.
Couple of quick strikes.
Yeah, attaboy, attaboy.
Well, how about these numbers on Treadwell? 5 2/3 innings, 12 strikeouts, only 1 walk. Has 1 save on the season, so Treadwell can do the multi-inning save.
Perfectly placed for strike 3.
Let's go, Doug. Get us going, Doug.
That's hitting your spot.
Yeah, he sure did. Dots the glove. See where Darius Perry set it up in. And there it is. That's when you tip your hat.
Back to the top of the Longhorn lineup. The only thing that's given him fits is that belt today. He's been working on that thing between pitches.
He has.
Douglas Hodo III has twice fly to center and also flied to right.
Well, Texas down to 5 outs, Brett. Could this be the first loss of the season for them?
If they don't add to that 4-hit total, I would say the answer would be yes. They put pressure on the Bruins a couple of times, getting some free base runners. But even last inning when Treadwell came on, after inheriting a runner, one batter later, he got the double play, and that was pretty much it.
Yeah, that seventh inning was a key inning, obviously. The two walks back-to-back, and then you had Ardwan had that 3-2 count. I think it was a really tough pitch that he took for strike 3. Texas not able to get much going offensively.
Well placed again. Fastball at 90.
And the Texas offense has really been able to scratch runs out when they've needed to. Then today it's just been the combination of Kelly Austin and Luke Jewett, and Alonzo Treadwell has given them fits.
Perry tried to frame it.
And did not miss by much.
Sometimes when you've been around the plate that much, you might get just a little bit of the benefit of the doubt. Especially when there's another game to play that might not start until 8:30.
Yeah, that's exactly right. It doesn't bother Treadwell any. He just comes right back and fires another one on that outside corner. That's just like is that poise and composure. Even a young arm like Treadwell, and he's handling this big moment really well.
Hodo waiting. Hodo swinging and missing. Back-to-back Ks in the Texas 8th inning, courtesy of Treadwell.
It says low 90s on the gun, but sure feels like he's throwing harder.
My goodness, I was thinking the same thing.
So you can hear the pop of the mitt of Perry, and it just looks like Texas is right on that fastball, and all of a sudden it's by him.
Eric Kennedy trying to continue the 8th. Longhorns down to their 4 outs. Again, he's just pounding that glove of Perry.
He is. Pounding the zone with just low fastballs. And if you're Texas, you just got to start to figure, I'm going to cut the ball and cut the plate in half, look for that pitch middle away, and try to punch one into the opposite field. That was the idea there by Kennedy. Unsuccessful.
13 strikes and 4 balls since Treadwell has entered the game. Even his misses have been somewhat strategic, not that far out of the zone.
Went right back to that spot. I think he's just going to keep throwing fastballs down and away and make Texas hit about 5 or 6 singles in a row to beat him. It's probably not a bad strategy at this point in the game.
Wave and a miss. How about that frame, Pat?
Wow. Strikes out the side does Alonzo Treadwell. Texas down to 3 outs, but UCLA coming up to hit. Going to the top of 9th. The Bruins lead.
Do you love sports? Then you should know about STEM. Because maximizing nutrition, analyzing peak muscle performance, calculating the perfect shot, and more are all made possible by science, technology, engineering, and math. In fact, there are more careers than ever in sports science. So if you have a passion for sports, then think about getting involved in STEM and improve everyone's game on and off the field. Get inspired at SheCanSTEM.com.
H-Town, high school, sports, the excitement, The emotion. The passion.
Showtime, man.
Unrivaled coverage.
We fight for the right to play next week. We cannot give up.
Only on H-Town High School Sports with Todd Freed.
See it right here on AT&T Sportsnet.
Take your favorite teams with you with the brand new AT&T Sportsnet mobile app. Just download the free app from iTunes or Google Play, log in with your TV provider account info, and you're all set. Don't wait. Download the new and improved AT&T Sportsnet mobile app today.
To the ninth we go. Bruins lead the Longhorns 4-1. UCLA looking for some insurance. They last scored back in the 6th. The lone Texas tally was the smash and the bomb from Ivan Melendez, the solo homer in the 4th inning.
Well, here we go, Brett, on the verge of possibly Texas, the #1 ranked team in the country, getting knocked off. If you would have asked me before the tournament started, who do you think would have the best chance to do it, I would have picked maybe Tennessee, maybe LSU, but not UCLA, and here we are.
Okay. You could be wrong then.
I might be wrong. You didn't ask me the question, though.
I did not.
I'm just being honest in my perspective, my analysis of if that question had been asked. It had nothing to do with, did I believe that UCLA could do it or not? I just would have picked one of the other 3 teams other than UCLA to do it.
You might not be alone as Kenny Oyama steps in. You see he's 0 for 3, but he walked in the 5th inning, stole 2 bases, and scored a run.
Oh, that got him.
He doesn't provide much of a strike zone, also not much of a target, yet the ball still found him.
That, I think, got him right on the butt cheek. Yep,
got him on the oven mitt.
Well, there you go, extra padding. You can say you already had enough padding there, but you're exactly right. If you're going to get hit, not a bad place.
Bruins have been hit by pitches 27 times. Does that feel like a lot for 12 games?
Oh, it sure does. Yeah, more than twice a game. Yeah, that's a lot. It's not like these guys are leaning over the plate and diving into balls. Yeah, but we've seen a lot of that this tournament, though, bro. We've talked about just the lack of control of the breaking pitch. That time a fastball gets away from Coy Cobb, but I bet we've seen 8 to 10 breaking balls hit guys in their shoe, their shin, their back foot, front foot.
We've seen guys swing amazing. And get hit and twice. Go for strikes. One was a strikeout.
Baseball's a funny game sometimes.
Then we saw a guy get hit by a pitch that ended up being a strikeout.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, on a replay.
So that's 3 more right there we could have seen this week.
Craziness. And we have talked about the thousands of games that you and I have watched. And we still saw a couple of things this weekend we've never seen in baseball.
Yeah, that's true. And quite honestly, seen a few others that we haven't seen in a long time.
Yeah, that ball that went to the fence that looked like the catch that wasn't the catch, but it could have been a double catch. I mean, that was crazy.
Which resulted in a single.
Yeah. And a play to end the game possibly last night for Texas. That was Douglas Hodo in center field. Going high up in the right center field wall. The ball bounced off his glove into the wall, back into the field play.
So I was talking to some of our umpire friends today, and I guess earlier this year, and I couldn't tell you the school, but I think it might have been a smaller level in California, where there had been a warning to a hitter as far as not getting in the box. And late in the game, 1-run game, I think. Runner's on base. He's out again. They call strike. That's a K.
Wow.
That ends the game in that manner.
Oh, my goodness. That's a tough way to lose a ball game. Not even getting a chance to... Oh, another one. How about this?
And they're going to be at 30 before this game's going.
2 in a row. I think Palmer took it in the same spot Oyama got it in.
I think you're right. But quite honestly, Pat, as we see this one again, if you can't pitch in and you're going to hit batters...
I got my elbow, yeah.
You better figure something out because you're taking away one half of the plate. The result of continuing to try and pitch in only to put guys on base for the heart of the lineup Doesn't seem like a strategy.
Yeah. And Cobb was not convinced that Palmer didn't stick his elbow out there. He's upset about it, but I didn't see any movement by Palmer to extend that elbow.
He missed a spot pretty badly on that one. I'm sure he's frustrated.
Pitch.
Cody Schreier is 0 for 3 with a walk. Corner infielder is expecting the 3-hole hitter Schreier to bunt. He is not. Melendez was about 60 feet from home plate when Schreier swung.
And Melendez is backing up now, playing normal depth, actually behind the bag. Looks like John Savage will allow his number 3-hole hitter Cody Schreier to swing away, but he did have some long signals in. We'll see what happens here. I think he's swinging.
Agreed.
Well, big situation here for Cobb and the Horns. To give your team a chance here in the 9th inning, you got to keep this score right where it is.
In the air to right. Playable for Todd. He had to cover a little bit of ground to get there. Oyama will tag and move up to third. Runners on the corners with 1 out.
Yeah, great job by Schreier. He's trying to go that way to the right side of the infield or the outfield just to get Oyama over to third base. Of course, he would have taken the hit there too, but does his job. Gets Oyama to third. Less than 2 outs.
For the cleanup hitter, Curiali. Singled in each of his last 2 at-bats. LSU and Baylor, the nightcap will be the 9th and final game of this year's Shriners Children's College Classic.
Should get that one off before midnight.
Are you positive?
Looking like a 8-something start. We'll find out here after this game ends. Cobb keeping a close eye on Palmer at first base.
So a couple of hit batters and a line out to right. There's the squeeze.
Wow.
It's going to get the run. Remember, UCLA walked off a game this year with the safety squeeze bunt. The cleanup hitter, Curiali, with a bunt that went about 5 feet in front of the plate. Gets an RBI, makes this a 5-1 game.
Yeah, I really thought when that ball stopped right in front of the plate that Artwan may have a shot at getting Oyama, but that's just Oyama's speed at third base, man. He is busting it down the line. Great jump when that ball was laid down, but perfectly placed bunt by Curiali, and UCLA gets that big 4-run lead.
He really had to go down to get that ball put in play. It's not that far off the dirt.
Yeah, that ball was breaking down and away, and outstanding bunt by Curiali, and now we're going to pinch hitter for UCLA.
Your attention, please, for UCLA. Pinch hitting for the
Jack Holman.
Number 17, Jack Holman.
Left-handed batter now trying to pick up yet another insurance run. 5 runs, 9 hits for the Bruins. 1 run on 4 hits for the Longhorns.
And Silas Artwan out to the mound to have a chat with Cobb. More of a strategic visit here. How are we going to pitch to this pinch hitter for the Bruins?
Might be just a stall for a little bit too. I was right. You see more mound visits for the purpose of giving that reliever a few extra throws than you do Another true strategy session.
Yeah, David Bishop, left-handed pinch hitter Holman will counter with his lefty. And there he is. That is Sam Walbridge.
Surprised college baseball eventually doesn't go to something where if you're going to make that move, you need to make it when you cross the line.
Immediately. Might save a couple of minutes each game, right?
Pitching change break. We'll step aside and come back to Minute Maid in a moment.
Behold, unlimited wireless for only $30. That's pretty cool. But you know what's cooler?
Saving up to $400?
Exactly. And if we really want to take it up a notch, get all that and nationwide 5G included. Ooh, nice shot. Send that to me.
I got you.
Break free from the big three and get connected to the nation's most reliable 5G network.
Get the new Samsung Galaxy S22 series on Xfinity Mobile. And right now, save big with up to $750 off a new Samsung device. Switch today.
No matter who you are, and actually no matter what the year of car you're driving, there's nothing like the Sewell customer service. Everything is seamless and everything is well calculated, well thought out. I would love to think that it's just me, but I know that they do this for every customer. I'm a Sewell customer for life.
Discover our wide variety of new and certified pre-owned vehicles at Sewell Cadillac.
To those who serve, thank you.
Pitcher number 6 for the Longhorns, left-hander Sam Walbridge.
Yeah, good look at Walbridge taking his final warm-up pitch, and all 6'5", 210 pounds from San Antonio. Sophomore making his second appearance for the Horns. He's yet to record an out. Gave up a hit at only appearance. Now called upon to face a Bruin pinch hitter.
In fact, the second pinch hitter.
There you go. And we had a left hitter announced. And John Savage counters with the right-hander.
Number 11,
Jake Moberg.
A little bit of the chess match here, late innings between David Pierce and John Savage.
UCLA ended its season last year in this state. They were the number 2 seed in the Lubbock Regional. Back in Texas this year looking for their biggest win of the season.
Yeah, I think if you
they're going to take the trainer out to check on Walbridge?
So, yeah. Not sure what Sean Allen saw there, but he'll be met at the mound by home plate umpire Seth Buckminster. It doesn't look good.
Nope.
You see Walbridge talking that long, and yeah, maybe he is okay. All right. Everybody's satisfied. Well, Sean Allen saw something he didn't like. But Walbridge okay, and here we go.
It's a good thing Walbridge was able to stay in. Had he been forced to exit, there was a right-hander in the bullpen, so you had a pinch hitter for a pinch hitter. If you brought on a right-hander, you could go back to a third pinch hitter in the same sequence.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, because of the injury there, right? Good fastball. 91 catches the outside corner.
Bruins have plated a run in the ninth. Palmer out there at second base. 2 balls and a strike to Moberg. Palmer's going to run, and that one's popped up on the right side of the diamond. Melendez there waiting, and the inning ends. Bruins had some insurance. The Longhorns need a rally in the bottom of the ninth to keep their undefeated season rolling.
Step up to the plate and join the official kids club of the Houston Astros, presented by HEB. Children 12 and under will receive 4 tickets to a select Astros game, a jersey, drawstring bag, a hat, and lanyard, as well as the opportunity to be selected for exclusive events during the year. All for only $30. You can become a Buddies member today by visiting astros.com/buddies.
Watch me roam, discover, explore. The forest is quiet, the river will roar. One slip by the fire is all it took, but they made my arm better. Just take a look. Under moon and stars, that's where I love to stay. Let's go play in the woods. I'll show you the way. Watch me, the place to turn for any bird. Shriners Children's, the most amazing care anywhere.
Watch me. Watch me pirouette with style and grace. An open floor of inspiration. This is my place. 5 positions to start, leotard and tights. A story through movement, under music and lights. Straight and tall, they promised I'd stand. I'm a ballerina who twirls like the blades of a fan. Watch me. Innovative scoliosis treatment at Shriners Children's. The most amazing care anywhere.
We go to the bottom of the ninth inning. The Longhorns will have the heart of their lineup: Melendez, Ardoin, and Todd. My goodness, Treadwell's been fun to watch for UCLA.
Well, he sure has. Just a great combination of fastball slider, but really is stuck with that fastball down in the strike zone, and Texas has yet to catch up with one.
Melendez homered in the 4th inning, an absolute no-doubter to left field, and that has been the Texas tally.
Right on cue, Mr. Treadwell. That's impressive.
Hard hit, but right to short. Gobbled up by Schreier. This throw's high, but Palmer is able to keep his foot in the bag and bring that down.
A big first out of the inning for Treadwell and the Bruins. Yeah, Palmer not the tallest target at the first base over there.
He is not.
Cody Schreier has played perfectly at that shortstop position.
Ardoin has one of the 4 hits for the Longhorns, but they came back in the 2nd inning.
We look at Alonzo Treadwell and just smooth, easy delivery. Very repeatable. There's a lot of polish there for a freshman.
Faced 6 batters. He's recorded 7 outs.
Get the double play ball on the first pitch.
That helps.
Yeah. Yeah, that's just.
I mean, he's just hitting that target.
That is sick.
That's ripped to center for a base hit. Been around the plate a lot. The Longhorns finally take a big swing, and Ardoin has his 2nd hit of the game.
Yeah, that was a patient at bat. Really impressive. Ardwan finally got the mistake up in the zone. Goes it right back up the middle. Great approach by Ardwan, especially with 2 strikes. Nice short cut to the ball.
Austin Todd had a couple of guys on base when he batted in the 6th inning, but flied out to center. Treadwell back to his tricks, hitting his catcher's glove for strike 1. Good pick by Perry.
Yeah, fastball down and away. Just kind of pulled it. Great job by Darius Perry. He's been impressive. Tommy Barris, the #1 catcher so far, but John Savage has a couple of great options behind the dish.
One and 2 to Todd. Murphy Staley on deck. Longhorns need base runners here in the bottom of the 9th.
Oh, good breaking ball. Haven't seen one of those in a while. He's got it. It's a good one.
That hit the very end of the bat.
I think so, yeah.
I mean, that last sliver. That's strike 3. 4 strikeouts now for Treadwell.
Yeah, it's just, again, one of those tip your cap to the pitcher moments. You know, pitcher hits a spot like that, it's just not much you can do with it. Not unless you're sitting all over it. Even then, it's tough to hit.
It's up to Murphy Staley. He is one of the 5 Longhorn base hits. That is 23 strikes and 8 balls for Treadwell.
Pretty impressive. I think John Savage is going to walk away no matter how this ends. Looks like it's going to be a UCLA victory, but boy, he's going to walk away from this weekend thinking this is exactly what my team needed and gives him a good idea of what he's got. And Treadwell is locked in.
He is pounding the zone.
This is a pitching clinic. Well, if you got a young pitcher at home, man, you got to rewind this and play it a few times. This is how you throw a baseball.
And the UCLA Bruins have handed the #1 Texas Longhorns their first loss of the season. And there's the celebration for the boys in blue. They come to Houston, take 2 out of 3 over the weekend, and this will be the victory that'll propel them, I would imagine, forward.
Yeah, no doubt. You got to see UCLA in the rankings come next week. But what an outstanding job on the mound by Kelly Austin, Luke Jewett, Alonzo Treadwell nailing it shut, not allowing this Texas offense to breathe, except for the Melendez homer, and that'll be the first loss of the season for the Texas Longhorns.
8:10 for the first pitch of our finale of the College Classic. That'll be the LSU Tigers and the Baylor Bears. Gerald Sanchez, Pat Combs will take you home for the 9th game this weekend with this outstanding field. Congratulations, though, to the Bruins. They get the victory. They get a 5-1 victory today. Never trailed in the course of this contest. A little more baseball left for the Shriners Children's College Classic from Minute Maid. The Tigers and the Bears beginning to make their way out into the field. And for Pat Combs and our entire group, I'm Brett Dolan, thanking you for watching. Bruins able to put 5 runs on the board, 9 hits, some good defensive play, some outstanding pitching. Take down the Longhorns. So Sports Stars of tomorrow coming up. Again, for Pat and our crew, I'm Brett, thanking you for watching. Once again, our final score. UCLA 5, Texas 1. So long and good night for now from Minute Maid Park for the Shriners Children's College Classic.
It's confirmed he's packing up and heading to Los Angeles next season.
Wow. Let me down easy.
Miami is losing their star player. Ouch. This is going to rock the Western Conference.
We can't stop him from being traded, but we can help you trade in his jersey. With Amex Jersey Assurance, card members can get a free replacement jersey from the NBA store when their favorite player switches teams. One of the many things you can expect when you're with Amex.
Travel across America with us as we meet the next generation of star basketball players. We'll check out a new basketball program in Missouri that's making a lot of noise this year, and we'll also introduce you to an All-American in girls basketball. We'll meet two talented guards from the Northeast, one in New Jersey and another in Washington, D.C. And Dallas Cowboys running back Ezekiel Elliott is the subject of our journey to greatness. That's all coming up next on Sports Stars of Tomorrow. Welcome to Sports Stars of Tomorrow. I'm your host, Charles Davis. And today, we'll be introducing you to some talented young athletes who could one day be household names. My good friend and colleague Joe McCann is in Missouri for this week's 5-star feature.